Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 175 of the Salvaggio and Cratty Sports Podcast. Here for you again on another Wednesday night, January 10th, 7:02 p.m. Second show of the new year. And we have some somewhat breaking news before we get into football. But before any of that, as usual, Ryan, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Can't complain.
Just
Yourself?
okay?
Just okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, Nick Saban has decided to shockingly retire at the age of 72. The end of his career will be a loss to Michigan. Um, 7 national titles and countless other accolades. The Bill Belichick, some might say, of the college football world. Pretty shocked to see this happen. This is the biggest sports coaching job in the world now. The biggest vacancy easily, one of the biggest ever, I'd say. A massive figure in college football walks away. And they've already lost a 5-star receiver. So that's not good. Probably a lot of guys are going to follow. It's going to be an interesting next few months and leading into next season for Alabama. I'm shocked, but I mean, a legend. I'm not as much of a Bama hater as some, but college football is a big thing for me. I like to see different teams, so sometimes I will root against Bama a little bit, but there's no deep-seated hatred for me. Got a lot of respect for what Saban's accomplished. And I think his relationship with Belichick has been cool to follow. Your thoughts on the shocking retirement?
I mean, as we know, or as you know, I'm sure maybe some people that know me that listen know I'm not the biggest college football follower fan, but obviously, like you said, this is big news because it is one of the most prolific coaches, probably in all of sports. I wouldn't say just college football. To me, I find it funny the timing of it all. Obviously, relating it back to the Patriots, like we're going to in a little bit. Very interesting with all the Belichick stuff potentially up in the air. Very interesting now timing that, like you kind of just said, the Belichick of college football is retiring. Obviously, we know Bill Belichick probably not retiring by any sense, but I can't help but that's where my mind goes. Just tying those two guys together. But yeah, it is going to be a big loss. It'll be interesting to see how Alabama bounces back. Like you said, curious to see how many jump ship might not be the right word, might be too strong a terminology, but I'm sure there were a decent amount of players there. To play under Nick Saban, like we heard for all those years, guys came to the Patriots to play for Bill Belichick. Be interesting to see how many people, jump into the transfer portal, or move on from Alabama with Saban no longer there, and just how the program looks following, who's going to try to fill those obviously massive shoes in that program. So it'll be, like I said, very interesting to see what happens from here, but definitely a surprise to say the least.
Yeah, there are going to be huge names linked to that job, and it'll be very interesting and exciting to see who ends up there. But just a quick reaction, it's topical at the moment. So, but on to Patriots. They end this terrible season on a whimper, a 17-3 improbable loss to Trevor Siemian in the Jets. Didn't think it was possible, but it was.
No, I was
Indeed
just gonna
was.
say I'm so glad I couldn't have been more wrong last week because I think the both of us, but me maybe more so, was adamant that there was no way in hell that they were gonna lose this game. Um, and maybe you could say, for lack of a better joke, unless like hell froze over, and of course the way the game went, with the snow and everything, crazy that, like you said, they lose to Trevor Siemian. Never really put up a fight in one of the worst games. I feel like, and that's kind of crazy to say because I feel like there's been a lot of really really bad games this year, but I think this one. Or maybe the Saints game or the was it the Chargers game that got shut out like 6-0, whatever it was. Maybe that takes the cake. But this was the first Patriots football game that I will admit I fell asleep watching. It was that boring to me. I fell asleep a couple minutes into the third quarter. Woke up at the end of the third quarter. Clearly didn't miss a whole lot. But yeah, I mean, this was just the epitome of the Patriots season. Nothing really going right in this game. The quarterback play horrible. Zappy, I think we have found out, is not going to be the guy moving forward, because there just have not been inspiring performances. Defense was good at times, but in the end, they kept getting put out on the field because the offense can't move the ball at all. Like, you were bound to tire out at some point. Brees Hall pretty much took over a couple of occasions. But yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say that we are more than happy that this season has finally come to a fitting end, to say the least.
Yes, a beautiful and ugly loss
Mm-hmm.
for draft position. Um,
Absolutely.
studs and duds
Yeah,
for the
very
final
tough to
time.
find studs this week in a week where you only put up 3 points, but there was a couple in this game. I'm going to start with Juwan Bentley. I'll give credit where credit's due. It's been an up and down season for Bentley. I feel like haven't really seen his name on the stud side of the list as we're maybe accustomed to. But he was good in this game. 10 tackles, a half a sack, 2 quarterback hits. Played all 65 of the Patriots defensive snaps for 100%. Just a strong performance from him in the season finale. Like you said, a season that's been maybe relatively quiet. Maybe I can't remember if, the start of the season he got off to a hot start and then kind of cooled off. But I feel like we haven't heard a lot from Bentley lately. He was good in this game. One of the better guys on defense throughout the day.
Yeah, he's awesome.
The fact that he played 100% of the snaps too in those conditions, give credit where credit's due as well. Because obviously not the easiest thing I got to imagine playing football in a blizzard, but just again, kudos to Juwan Bentley for going out and playing pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely a leader on that defense. Christian Barmore, got to highlight him as well. 6 tackles, 4 assisted tackles for 10 combined. 2 tackles lost on QB hit. Good way to give them more reason to try and extend him this offseason, and I'm cool with that. Christian Barmore, I think, a little quiet at times earlier in the season, but for the last especially like 8 games or so, it's just been a monster.
Oh, he was the best player by
3
far.
sacks. So good.
Yeah, he was excellent. I'm right there with you. Like after you find a new head coach, I think the first move should be to approach Barmore and say, "Hey, we are going to do everything in our power. We want to extend. We want you here because you are going to be the maybe anchor of this defense moving forward." Because, like you said, he didn't get off to the greatest of starts, but definitely the last month or two of the season was probably their best player out there. I think on both sides of the ball. I don't really think you could argue that all that much. Maybe you could throw Zeke into that category because he was pretty good down the stretch.
Barmore, Duggar, Onwenu. Not as eager to re-sign Josh Uche. If they feel they need to let him go, that's fine. He's
they're
good,
pretty
but
good at
he's
finding
replaceable.
linebackers too.
Little quiet at points this season, a little too quiet for my liking.
Mm-hmm.
If they feel they need to move on, that's okay with me.
Fair enough.
Alex Austin is your number 2 stud.
He is yours as well, I believe. Yeah, so we can feel free to jump in, whatever. Hand up for me. I'll admit it. I was wrong. This is a guy I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago we had in the duds category. I wrote him off, saying he wasn't an NFL caliber corner. This is a guy that you just had here as basically cannon fodder because you had nobody else. And he has proven me wrong. 0 for 3 when it comes to coverage stats this week. 2 tackles, 1 pass deflection. He played 37 snaps, which is 57%, the second most for a defensive back, only behind Jonathan Jones. From Pro Football Focus this week, I think that you sent me this tweet. 90.7 on the pass grade, 4th among cornerbacks in the NFL this week. 5 targets, 8 yards allowed. 47.9 pass rating when targeted. Like I said, I was wrong. And then Mark Daniels, had this tweet as well, saying opposing quarterbacks were 2 of 11 for 18% for 50 yards when targeting Alex Austin over the last 5 games of the season. So he came on strong at the end. Like I said, I will eat my words on thinking he was not an NFL caliber corner. We get some guys back healthy next year. Maybe this is a guy that slots in as a nice little 3-4 option to give you totally some depth at the position.
Yeah, and on top of those coverage stats, he had a pass breakup, a pick, and doing the quick math here, 9 tackles. So
pretty good
in those big 5 weeks. Yeah, he, maybe the Bills screwed up letting him go, and the Patriots are rewarded. We'll see what happens next year, though. Anthony Jennings is our number 1 stud.
Yeah, he was good in this game as well. 7 tackles, 3 tackles for loss as a quarterback hit. He played 56 snaps, which was 86%. Seemed like he was all over the field and was obviously in the backfield on more than one occasion. Made it tough at times for the Jets offense. Another guy that kind of, had some up and downs this season. Feel like we didn't hear a whole lot from him, but, had a strong end of the season. I don't know what his contract status is, if he's up at the end of this year or and maybe a guy they're thinking of bringing back. But Jennings good, showed you something at the end of the season, and that's really all you could ask for. We talked about it last week. Some of these young guys. Maybe we weren't talking about Jennings necessarily because he's been here for a couple years now. But to see him go out there and produce in the last game of the season was good to see, and a positive maybe moving forward if this is a guy again. Don't know his contract situation, if he sticks around long term or what the deal is there.
Yeah, I'm very cool with what Anthony Jennings has done this year. This is a guy that easily, could have had a quiet year and been cast off, and I think he's made his case to stay, and he should. He spent a 3rd round pick on him a few years ago from Bama, ironically enough, as is Barmore, and really showed them something. So he's got a fan in me. Our duds though, our final duds, unless we do studs and duds of the year next week.
That's what I was thinking of doing. I was gonna do it this thought about it today, but I wasn't going to switch it up on you last
Yeah,
minute.
we'll
So we
have a
will.
little less to talk about next week, so
Yeah,
with
absolutely. And
less
then,
football happening. So
yep, it'll give us time to run through the past outlines, try to
yes.
figure out who made it the most and who didn't, and then obviously give our own spin. But on the duds, this one pains me. Just wasn't terrible in this game, but not a game that we're accustomed to from this guy. Demario Douglas is my number three. 2 catches, 5 targets for only 13 yards. Had 1 rush for 0 yards, played 55 snaps for 96%. Had a big holding penalty. That, if I remember correctly, may have been ticky tacky. I can't remember exactly if it was one of those, go back and watch it on
I don't
replay, and it
remember it.
really
Yeah,
wasn't. I
exactly.
feel like it was that type of situation. But nonetheless, when you can't get the offense going, it's tough to be in that position to begin with. Negated a 13-yard Ezekiel Elliott run. Just not one of Douglas's better games that we've been accustomed to. Everyone obviously talked about the game, leading up to the game. The jokes about him. I don't know if you saw getting the snow brush in the locker room and thinking it was something to clean out his locker.
Yeah.
So just this game, clearly the Florida boy was not used to playing in the cold and the snow yet. But again, a guy that you can have these type of performances, once in a while, because he was so good this season. You're not going to knock him too much.
Yeah, and historically good Patriots rookie.
Absolutely. Yep.
So I'll take it. I'm just adding a quick Bruins note here while you finished talking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean Demario Douglas, like you said, adverse weather conditions for what he's used to. Like overall, pretty good season, great season for a rookie. I'm not gonna hold it against him too much. I had a different receiver though. Devontae Parker, just 1 catch on 4 targets for 6 yards. I don't know if he struggles with the cold too,
I
but
think he just stinks.
he just stinks
Put
too.
it up to
Yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah.
it's a different story than Demario Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
And our consensus number two dud has had a really rough last month or so.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna put a little caveat on that, but I'm glad you brought that up because yeah, so had not been good of late. This game started the game at right guard, finished it at left tackle. 2 sacks allowed for Mark Daniels. Both of those came when he was inserted at left tackle after Vidarian Lowe got hurt. And then Mark Daniels obviously wanted to say he's much better at guard. I think we can agree at that on times. Also allowed a quarterback hit. Don't know where that came from if he was at left tackle or right guard when it happened. But he also played 57 snaps, which was 100%. Again, we talked about it all season. The Patriots' offensive line was thin to begin with. Maybe a guy that you had to rely on a little too heavily than you probably should have. But it is what it is. And this one, too, like I feel like he obviously had to move over at left tackle for an injury. To play that poorly, still play 100% of the snaps. I feel like this was just a case of, let the guy roll with the punches here, see if he can build off of, some or figure something out in the last game of the year. But it has, like you said, it's been a tough go for So. But like I said, too, I don't know how much we want to knock him because should he really have been playing this much at this point in his career? Obviously, being a rookie, probably not.
Yeah, I agree. My biggest thing is, it's just been a rough month. He's
Mm-hmm.
gonna have tough stretches as a rookie unless he just comes out as a stud, which is hard to do as a mid-round uh, offensive line prospect
Mm-hmm.
thrust into the role he's been. I'm gonna give him a little bit of the benefit of doubt.
Was he the,
And
the guy? Sorry to cut you off, but I thought I
no,
saw
you're
this on
good.
Twitter. Was he the one that was transitioned from a defensive tackle? There was one guard I saw, one offensive lineman on Twitter. I
No,
saw that somebody.
not
No,
that I know of.
okay, fair enough. But yeah, I talked a lot for So. You can do the number one, Doug, because again, it is a consensus, a pretty obvious one if you struggled to watch the game like you and I did.
No, yeah, Bailey Zappi was pretty dreadful in this game. Just
Mm-hmm.
12 for 30, 88 yards, was sacked 7 times, not all on him. 2 picks, 3 rushes, 13 yards, and a 20.1 passer
It's
rating.
so gross to look at.
He just not good.
No, it
Then a lot of people got on him for saying like he is, a case to be a starter next year. Like, do you expect him to say no when he's asked that?
mhm.
Do you like, nah, like I suck. Like he's gonna say yeah, and he has a good chance of being the backup on this
I mean,
team.
we know he has all the confidence in the world, seeing that the one thing I'll get on him for was I think it was the Pittsburgh game. I think we talked about it where it came out where at the start of the year he was cut and then went and told, his high school coach, whatever it was, or his college coach, I'm going to be the starter by the end of the year, which I found to be a load of crap. Like, I feel like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he has all the confidence in the world and he's just that type of confident, cocky, whatever. But I said it at the time, I'll say it again. Like, I don't believe anybody in when you're getting cut from an NFL team. Um, is sitting there going, yeah, I'm probably going to start for this team by the end of the season. Again, maybe he did, but I don't buy it. Yeah, I think we saw what Bailey Zappi is, like you said, a decent backup option. He's one of those guys that I feel like you have a lot of in the NFL, where you bring him in for a couple of maybe a spot start here or there, gives you a little bit of a spark, and then gets exposed as the season goes on. And that's what happened here. Could never really put together a full good performance. This game as a whole was a horrendous one. I feel like the majority of his throws in this game, maybe it was because of the weather, but like everything he threw, I feel like was underthrown. A lot of bad throws in this game, a lot of bad decisions. Like you said, the 7 sacks, not all on him. I thought I did see in one of Mark Daniels' tweets that he maybe credited 3 of the sacks that Zappi had for just holding onto the ball way too long, and that's another one of his problems. But yeah, we've talked about. I think it's pretty obvious what direction the Patriots have to go in the draft this upcoming draft, of course, because quarterback is you don't really have one on the roster right now.
Yeah, you have a guy you've benched 4 times and a guy that has been dreadful since you know, just about a month ago.
Any thoughts on
Uh
that guy you benched 4 times? Because that was the other interesting little thing that came out of this game is
over,
Mac Jones, a
over.
healthy scratch.
Oh, I thought you meant like talking about like him having a chance next year. Like I
Well,
saw.
that's it leads into it. I think that the Patriots show
No,
that there is no
no,
shot he's back here next year. Like they're
there's
going to
no
cut him,
chance.
trade him, whatever they're going to do.
The
Because that
Patriots
was very eye
have
opening.
great draft position in every round due to how bad they were. They might
Yeah,
not ever have this again because they're the
Mhm.
Patriots. They might have a new coach and they want to win again. That has been a thing since when they drafted Mac Jones, hoping he'd be the guy. Now that Mac Jones is not the guy and they don't have like a great quarterback prospect for the future,
Mhm.
you might never pick. The last time the Patriots picked this high, I believe, was 1996, and they took Willie McGinnis. This might
Pretty
not
good pick.
happen for another 20 years. Like it's I'm not saying the Patriots are going to go on another Brady run and they're always picking in the back half of the first round or trading their
Mhm.
first round pick. You have a top 3 pick. Those are not guaranteed, especially when you're talking about the Patriots. You have to take a quarterback. I love Marvin Harrison Jr. I've seen people make the case for Neighbors and Odunze. I wouldn't take Odunze that high. Maybe Neighbors, probably not. You have to take a quarterback. After what we've seen and what Mac Jones has proven, to get him benched,
Mhm.
you have to take a quarterback because Michael Penix might not be available in the second round anymore. If you're relying on Bo Nix and this being there early in the second round,
Slippery slope.
slippery slope.
Mhm.
I like Bo Nix, but he's old and he's not a surefire thing. There are he's a good player, good quarterback. Do I feel as confident as in him as in Jaden Daniels or Drake May or Caleb Williams if he somehow dropped 3?
Probably
Hell
not.
no.
Yeah.
Hell no. And JJ McCarthy, no.
I
JJ
was gonna
McCarthy
ask you
should go in
about,
the
yeah,
first round.
gonna
I, I,
ask you about
I
him.
still maintain that. But he will. You have to take a quarterback. You
Mhm.
just have to. Unless you can get a guy like Baker Mayfield, you have to take a quarterback.
I still think even at this point though, you draft like there. Yeah, I know it's a pipe dream, but me, if Harrison's there at 3, I want to take Harrison, and then I want the
If
Patriots to
they
trade
if they sign a
trade
veteran,
back
they're
up.
taking a receiver.
Oh,
They're not going
absolutely,
to
yeah.
trade
There's
back up into the first round high enough to
I,
get a
I know, yeah, I know
worthwhile
it's not going
player.
to happen, but there's part of me that just wants them to go balls to the wall for once in my life when it comes to something like that. Um, but yeah, I've talked myself into it more and more. Talking to you, just watching obviously the play of the position, like it's so obviously quarterback. Whoever follows you at 3, um, that's the direction you have to go because you don't have a real quarterback on the roster. Like it's so clear and obvious that it's painful.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels has a great arm. He can run. He had one of the best college football seasons I've ever seen. And that's saying something because there's been a lot of college football seasons. I'm not like putting him ahead of anyone.
Mhm.
Ironically enough, uh, Joe Burrow for other LSU QB had the best quarterback season ever, in my opinion. You can't go to the point where you're approaching the draft board, in my opinion. You're like, we think he's like a 7 or 8 guy. Like if we had that pick, we'd like him. You have to get a what could be a sure thing and has
Mhm.
good reason to believe to be a sure thing in Jaden Daniels or Drake May, because the next however so many years this guy may last in the league or be a stud depend on it. And you want to make the playoffs, you're not going in with Baker Mayfield or a veteran you're signing. It's not good business.
Mhm.
That cap space too that you have a bunch of gets maximized by having a rookie on a rookie quarterback on a
Yes, it
rookie
does.
deal. So
People were saying the
it's just
same thing about the Mac Jones draft, and not
and
look how that worked
and
out when it came to
yeah,
utilizing that rookie quarterback.
none of these quarterbacks are Mac Jones, and they didn't
Mhm.
have this much
No,
cap
I'm just
space.
saying
So
the whole not taking advantage of the rookie quarterback contract and not building anything around him instead of,
yeah.
that's how most teams would operate. That's how the Dolphins operated,
And
and it worked
now
out pretty well for them.
with the
So
Mac Jones situation, you have something to build on to not make the same mistakes. So
true,
don't
very true.
build around Jaden Daniels and win more Super Bowls someday. Um, if they get Jaden Daniels and build the right team around him, this is a playoff caliber team again.
Well, it should have been a playoff caliber team this year
Yeah.
with how
And think about
they
that.
should have
Think
been.
about how
But
bad they were. Think
mhm,
about if you make the right improvements, you're a much more surefire playoff team, in my opinion. Um,
absolutely.
but this game was terrible. You lost Trevor Siemian. That is really the main takeaway for me.
Mhm.
The elements had an effect. Snow games are gross, but I think even the later portion of the seasons, you've seen some bright spots. You've seen them, over the past couple of months, finally learn how to use Tamario Douglas consistently. Alex
Mhm.
Austin has emerged. Barmore's been great. Anthony Jennings has been great. Kyle Duggar. Some of these guys you're going to have to depend on in the future. Mike Onwenu has become a true right tackle. And there are some positives. Maybe you keep Zeke Elliott around,
Mhm.
and you run it back next year because this is one to forget in the rearview mirror. Start a new era at quarterback and build around him.
Yeah,
That's it.
absolutely. One other guy too, because I mean, not the flashes of names or everything. I don't know again what his contract situation is. Can't imagine he's got a long deal, but I wouldn't hate to see them bring Rager back. I thought he had a decent finish to the season, just as a depth guy.
Yeah,
Shit, I'd
more of a
rather
special teamer. Have him return kicks, I
yeah,
guess,
absolutely. I mean, I would rather watch him go out there than a guy like Devontae Parker or Juju because I
or
just
Taekwon
both
Thornton.
or Taekwon Thornton. That's another one too. Didn't even touch on him. Talk about another guy's Patriot career probably being over. He was another healthy and active this week, which was hilarious to see. But again, is what it
Yeah,
is. You wasted another draft, another
move
decent
on.
draft pick.
New era.
So, yep.
Um, week 18.
Mhm.
Um, should we talk
We
about
not want
Belichick
to.
actually? How do we feel
Yeah, I
about
was just gonna
Belichick?
say, did you know, because there was
I didn't even. It just like randomly popped into my head. I don't know
three
why it
notable
did.
takeaways after this game happened. One kind of alluded to beforehand with the Matthew Slater stuff. I think you and I, when we saw and kind
Oh,
of everyone the same
jeez.
thing, when you saw the sweatshirts pregame that everyone was
Yeah,
wearing,
it's
Robert
over.
Kraft, the pictures. I don't know if you saw the one of him and David Andrews in the locker room after. I think it's probably safe to say, even though Matthew Slater said he wouldn't answer the question, it's a question for another day when he was asked about it. He is probably done. I don't think there's any doubt about that with how this thing ended. David Andrews was asked the same question. He believed he has, some fuel left in the tank, is what he said, but he was going to go home, be with his family and try to figure some things out and obviously get back to that question a little later. And then the Bill Belichick stuff that has come out, obviously, before the game. Jake Glazer on the Fox pregame said that the Patriots would be parting ways once the season is over. Obviously, a firing or a trade is not known yet. Bill Belichick, when he was asked about it, some people picked up on this. Was interesting that he was the first one to say that he is still technically under contract. So maybe that's a shot to being like, I'm not going anywhere unless they fire me
Yep.
or trade me. Um, so
And
very
he's trying to
interesting
get in their
there.
good graces, maybe a little bit, saying like, "Hey, I'll
Maybe,
step down as
yeah.
GM, keep me around."
Yeah, so I guess we can, or you can pick which one you want to go to, because the stepping down at GM thing I find to be an absolute load of crap. He's not going to do that. But
I think he would. I think he would.
really,
I think he
what
would.
make well, all right, we'll work
Absolutely.
backwards then. What makes you say that? We'll start with the Belichick stuff
To
then.
stay. He wants to stay.
Yeah, but do you really think he's gonna report to somebody else? Like, I feel
I
like there's no
I have a hard time
chance.
believing that, but I believe him. He doesn't bullshit to the media.
I don't know about that. His whole
He
shtick is
he gives
bullshitting to the media and not
he gives
answering anything.
grumpy answers and
Hmm.
not long-winded answers, but like he's not gonna lie to them about something
Fair.
like
Yep,
that.
that's true. He's never
There's just
just,
no chance to me.
bullshit in that way. Yeah.
Um, I'm still in the camp that Bill stays. I don't
Okay.
think they fire him, and I think he steps down as GM. That is my official prediction.
All right. Okay. Even with the Vrabel coming out, because there's a lot of people that obviously think that is going to happen, that Mike Vrabel is going
Uh,
to be the next Patriot head coach.
I don't think that is enough of a change for me.
It's not for me. I like, again, we've talked about this. People know it, that I'll take anything at this point because I want a new, and now I'm
I
gonna
don't know if Rabel would even want that.
to fill in
Like
for fill
they
Bill
fire
Belichick's
Bill. They
shoes.
fire no in a way like morally, like
Hmm.
in his head he'd be like, damn, like you know, I'm here because Bill got fired.
That is a decent way to
Like,
look at it. True.
but like obviously to go back to New England, he would be thrilled.
Hmm.
And it's a good fit stylistically, I think.
Yep.
Um, I don't know. I'm not on the Vrabel thing though. I don't know where he's going to end up,
Hmm.
but I don't know. Like thinking of some of the firings, like he's not going to go to Washington. They have no defense. Um, he's not going to go to Seattle.
Some
I don't
people seem to
think
think Chicago if they fire Eberflus,
they're not gonna. They
which I
said
feel like,
there's
yeah, if they
yeah.
haven't all
They'll
yet, they're
fire
not
Luke
going
Getzey and
to.
some of the guys today.
Hmm.
I don't really know where he fits in. Like the Raiders had a sneaky good defense.
Hmm.
If they because they have to do the Rooney role, they have to
True, they got
entertain
it.
other
Yep.
candidates. They can't just be like Antonio Pierce is the guy. Um, I don't know
You
where
said
he'll
you
end
didn't
up.
think Seattle would be a good fit for Vrabel?
I don't know if it would. Do you
Okay.
think so?
I mean, they get I think, a decent defense. They've got some pieces on offense. I feel like that wouldn't be the worst place for him. Like that's
I
I feel like the most complete
yeah, I
team out
don't
of all the
know.
ones that have been, have lost a head coach so far. Maybe you could obviously
Yeah, I
you could argue the
guess
Chargers. Um,
he wouldn't
Depending on
want
what
that
they do.
defense.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I mean maybe Seattle is a decent fit. It's more things are going to happen. I think he's at least going to take some time,
Hmm.
because he knows what's going on. Bill could be fired.
There's one
Um,
dark horse that I was talking to my dad about the other day because there was obviously reports that if they bow out in the playoffs early, there might be a head coaching change. And I thought this would be the perfect spot for Bill if he is to leave. But there have been rumblings I saw that if the Cowboys jump out early in the playoffs, Mike McCarthy's job could be in jeopardy. I feel like that would be like one for Bill Belichick. Like I said, think Jerry Jones would jump at that chance to hire Bill and be the next
yeah,
coach at Dallas. But Vrabel, I think that could work out there well because that's
yeah, it could be
probably one of the
interesting.
best, if not the best landing spots if
Yeah,
it becomes
Micah
available.
Parsons, are you
But
kidding me? Oh my God.
absolutely, yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I've made my case with Bill. I've made my
Hmm.
peace with them keeping him around. If they do, it's fine with me. It's also fine if they move on, but it will suck. Um,
Just got to rip that
and
band-aid off at some point. That's
not
how I
having
look at
Matthew
it.
Slater will suck.
Hmm.
David Andrews, I think will stay. Hopefully, but he had more concussion issues this year, man. Like that's
Hmm.
another thing to monitor with him. Um,
It is, yeah, interesting. It's
I
good that you
think
bring that
David
up
Andrews
because.
screams a guy that would like to stay around the game to me.
Hmm.
I think Matthew Slater, like almost undoubtedly will. I think he'd be an amazing special teams coach.
Hmm.
And I
Absolutely, yep.
told you, I think someday he's smart enough and he's been around the game long enough, and he's kind of got like the wiring. Like,
Hmm.
I could see him being a great GM.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. He's definitely got the brains for it, as you said. Just that swagger to him too. Like obviously a
He has
well-respected
such a
guy.
deep
Like,
appreciation for the intricacies of the game too,
hmm,
where I think he could put together a great roster.
absolutely,
Maybe
yep.
he would probably wouldn't jump into a GM role right away, maybe an assistant or player personnel guy, but yeah, Slater's just too in tune with the game, I think, to just ride off into the sunset. I'd be very surprised if he didn't stick around in the NFL, most likely
Hmm.
with the Patriots.
Yep.
But what's your prediction on Bill right now? What happens?
I it's tough. Like I'm trying to put aside my personal wants. Like I want him again. That's just because I'm just under the impression of like I want a new change. I want a new mindset. If you're gonna go with a new quarterback and a new overhaul of the offense and everything again, like I don't think Bill's gonna be the guy to do it. I think he's too old at this point. Like I said, I don't think he's gonna want to. He might say it. I don't think he's gonna want to relinquish the GM duties, especially if he has could get that option somewhere else to run the ship entirely. Um, but again, the more we wait here, the more I kind of fear that he's going to stick around. The other point I wanted to bring up too, really quick, and I talked about this before, and it's starting to come up again. All the people like that are adamant that you can't get rid of Bill Belichick. That'd be the dumbest decision on the planet. Again, I said it before. I'll say it again. Any other coach that goes 4-13, you're sitting there going, this guy shouldn't have a job. I can't stand the people that are like, oh, he won you 6 Super Bowls. He's the greatest coach of all time. I joked about it the other day. So we just let him coach on the sideline until he what? Till he keels over. Like you have to move on from him at some point. So that's where I'm at on that. Again, the people that are just vehemently believe you cannot get rid of him. You can. It's
There's
happened.
also
Coaches get fired, but
there's also the extremely tantalizing possibility of Bill Belichick working with a quarterback with the upside of any of these guys.
yeah, absolutely.
Could be magic.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, if you have a new coach, it's just the coach gets his guy. Talk with the scouts and GM and all that, get their guy in the draft. But would you rather do that with a rookie quarterback or have an established system and a legendary coach?
It's a fair argument. It is.
It's that's something that's going to come up in meetings, like draft
Mhm.
approach. Like I assume Bill wants a quarterback. Like I hope he does.
See, on the flip side of that, I'm not like you said, these quarterbacks are not at the same level that Mac Jones obviously turned out to be. But
Yeah, that's the
you did
exciting
just
part for
watch
me.
Belichick ruin a first round quarterback.
Yeah, but
I know it's
this
a
is
different
this is
spot.
top
I know it's
three.
a different talent. I
This
get
is
that.
with you're likely not looking at a McDaniel's firing situation. Like I
Fair.
think
Yep.
if Bill stays, Bill O'Brien stays, they can fix some things.
If Bill
Um,
stays, according to Jeff Howe, Josh McDaniels might have a job here again, which is kind of crazy to think about. I don't know if you saw that.
at least if
Like,
they do that, they can start from the jump. It's not like Mac Jones, like where you flip it every year. Like you
true, he had
start with the
somebody new.
jump.
Yep.
They're introduced. The quarterback is introduced to the team with Belichick, McDaniels, O'Brien, and anyone else that he
Hmm.
might work with, and then you keep that for 3 or 4 years, hopefully. But if Bill retires or gets fired, that's a different story. That's something down the road. That's all
Hmm.
hypothetical.
Yep.
But you have to make your decision: is he gone or is he staying?
I think he's gonna go. I think they're gonna rip that band-aid off at some point. Like they
Oh, all right,
again,
all
like
right.
it's hard for me to not put my personal want of
Yeah,
just a new overhaul, but like especially too like I just found it weird that like again I don't know how much you saw the pregame on Fox and just I'm sure you obviously watched the games. They talked about it a lot. And just I don't Jay Glazer just doesn't throw shit to the wall to hope it sticks. I feel like if he's saying that Bill, but like the whole thing too, the picture of him standing in front of the TV screen with a big red gone across Bill Belichick's name. Like I don't think there's, again that's just being thrown out there to get people to speculate. I think there's stuff behind that. So whether it
yeah,
happens soon or not, I feel like we're gonna have to wait around a little bit. But in the end, I think that band-aid is gonna get ripped off, and
yeah.
he's probably gonna go.
The thing that gives me pause is Kraft knows what he's capable of.
Hmm.
But I think Kraft has grown extremely impatient.
Yep.
But then you have the balancing act of you have great draft position and a ton of money. Is this the last chance? It might be.
That was what I was gonna say.
Which also makes me think if that's the pitch, they give Belichick one more shot at GM, which at this point I don't love, but
Mhm.
whatever. Like
If he's
I don't know.
back,
Maybe not whatever. Maybe that's
yeah.
not the
Oh,
best way
it's
to put
yeah.
it.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like they lost so many fans and lost so much interest this season. Like if he's back, obviously, naming a new head coach would bring a ton of buzz to this and would get people back involved to say, okay, well here we go. This is a new regime now, a new era. What's it going to look like? If you bring Belichick back, you pretty much have to nail everything else. You have to hit
Yeah,
a
you
home run in the
have to.
draft. You have to spend a ton and spend it correctly in the offseason and on free agents and try to bolster this team. Because if you run it back with Belichick and you run it back with the same mindset of, we'll pinch pennies, we'll find these guys that nobody else wants, and we'll trade down 10 times in the draft, you're gonna get
Yeah,
the same result, and people are gonna be pissed.
who I want Belichick around for too? Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, I mean it's you saw what that looked like for what 4 or 5 games so far this season. It
Bill
worked out pretty
Belichick can
well.
turn him
So
into an all pro. And you need that.
yeah, you do.
Because I love Jonathan Jones. I like Alex Austin. Miles Bryant even had
He
great
did. Yeah,
stretches
that's
this
another one who
season.
had some decent
And
games this year,
Belichick
surprisingly.
loves Miles Bryant.
Yep.
Um, I don't know. That's a guy that, you know, kind of like defensive version, like how much, change do you want to give this guy who can be an all pro for you?
Mm-hmm.
He spoke highly of Belichick as well. So we'll see. It's going to be a storyline, no doubt. We'll talk
For
about it
sure.
some more. But week 18, we started on Saturday. Steelers Ravens. Sorry, I jumped the gun. I had salad brains there at the
Okay.
end. What I thought was the end, but Steelers Ravens. Steelers win 17-10. Mason Rudolph versus Tyler Huntley.
It's about as entertaining
Whatever.
as that
Yeah,
what you just said
like
would be. Yep.
lot of running. TJ Watt got hurt. He's not going to play against the Bills, which is quite detrimental.
Yep.
But he played phenomenal. 8 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and 2 QB hits. I gotta be honest, I'm not like criticizing him. A guy with the mindset and like the bully mindset of TJ Watt, I'm surprised he's not playing through this a little bit. For a guy like
Yeah.
him, not criticizing him, I'm
Mhm.
surprised that he's not like, nah, I'm playing. Like,
I'm sure he probably tried to. I'm sure there was
Oh
conversations,
yeah,
but I mean, you had reports. Rappaport had I have here in the outline that he said, best case scenario, the injuries, we play in 2 weeks with a brace. So obviously that means the Steelers got to be at least in what the AFC. That's the AFC Championship game, isn't it?
for 2 weeks from
2
now.
weeks? Yeah, two
Yeah,
weeks from now. Yes. I mean, that's probably not going to happen. Sorry, Steelers
no,
fans.
no, no.
Um, but that's a long shot. But yeah, I mean, it is a little surprising. But I mean, when you saw him go down, you kind of thought the worst because it looked bad. Um,
Hmm.
so obviously you wish for a speedy recovery for him. Uh,
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, that is huge, a big loss there. The big thing from this
I.
game is Pittsburgh, just real quick for me, getting their run game going again.
Mhm.
If they are to pull off some upsets, that's what they're going to have to do. Obviously, keep the ball away from the Bills. Slow the game down, kill the clock. Najee Harris has had a great second half of the year. Has had some moments in the first half, but I thought he really came back to you know to what we saw a couple years ago from him. And then Jalen Warren is a nice change of pace back too. So that's what
Yeah,
the Steelers are going to have to
Jalen
lean
Warren's
on.
fast too.
Yep.
Um, yeah, Najee's made his case to stick around. I don't see why they wouldn't run this duo back. It worked really well. I think they should
Mhm.
make this their strength. Obviously, you're gonna throw the ball to guys like Pickens and Deontay Johnson, who had a bounce back year. Calvin Austin, I think, will be much more involved next year. You got Pat Fryermuth. The interesting thing with this game for me was Lamar not playing and Dak having a huge week late in the season. So you got to give that with a grain of salt.
Mhm.
But it makes the MVP race a little more interesting because Dak has a phenomenal case. And I'm
He
not
came back
saying
to life after there
Lamar
was the
Jackson,
Bills game.
I'm not saying I expected Lamar Jackson to match him and throw 4 touchdowns and whatever, but I don't know. It makes it a little more interesting than it was last week. So
For
that's
sure.
something
Yep.
I thought about, um, especially when you see the difference between Lamar and Tyler Huntley. Um, MVP wise, the
Night
value
and
to the
day.
team.
Yeah.
Um, Nothing against Tyler Huntley. It's just a fact. Um, Texans 23, Colts 19. The Houston Texans, believed by none to make the playoffs, have done so. Um, One of my favorite stories of the season. It's an absolute shame that Tank Dell is hurt. I think about it every time I watch them now.
Hmm.
Uh, it's just cruel for a team that's had such an awesome season, but I mean, they get it done. Like they got
Do
it
they
done
find ways
here.
to win? Yep.
They knocked the Colts out of the playoffs. Nico Collins is a legit superstar receiver now.
Hmm.
This stamped it. Big time player, big time game. Didn't drop a single pass. Devin Singletary showed up. He's been a sneaky, awesome pickup for them. I did not
Very good
expect him to
signing.
play
Yep.
this good. Um, Played much better than Damian Pierce, which is surprising as well. And CJ Stroud didn't blow anyone away, but he was super efficient and super calculated. He did what he needed to do to win. They win by 4. Jonathan Taylor had a monster game on the other side, but it wasn't enough.
Hmm.
The Texans, man, what a story! Because I can't think of anyone I saw to predict them to make the playoffs because there wasn't a ton of reason to.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I'm sure there were people even in Houston that were kind of talking like we were at the start of the year, like, oh, you were building towards something, but it's going to take a year or two. Obviously get some development for Stroud. See, like you said, some of these young receivers that they can break through. And everything has seemingly, like you said, outside of the injury to Tank Dell, everything has seemingly worked out for them. I'm glad were able to win this game because I think, maybe you could argue outside of the Steelers. Maybe you flip them with a team like maybe Jacksonville, but they kind of crap it down the stretch. Like every team that you want to see in the
Oh, I'm
playoffs
so
is
happy the
is
Jaguars
probably in the
aren't there.
playoffs. Like I'm so glad we get to watch CJ Stroud. Sneaky good matchup potentially Browns Texans. Maybe not the craziest matchup on paper, but the way these two teams have played down the stretch, hopefully that'll be an entertaining game. The
And no
thing,
Falcons or Saints either.
yeah,
Oh,
exactly. You didn't, yeah, you get one of those
great,
two crap teams sneak in. Um,
great.
the Seahawks obviously couldn't make it. They kind of faltered down the stretch, so maybe that wasn't a team you wanted to watch going in. But I think you got pretty much the matchups you wanted and the teams you wanted in. The other thing from this game, obviously the big one, was Tyler Goodson, that the play at the end of the game, dropping the ball. Just him at the end of the game. I don't know if you saw his post game interview on Twitter or anything like that. Talking about you're not hanging his head. It was a tough play. Didn't want to think of himself as a failure, and he wanted to take that what happened as motivation to into next season, and he never put himself in that position again. Um, Obviously you feel for the guy, but I thought that kind of commentary from him was great. Make him an easy guy to root for moving forward because obviously a really shitty spot to be in. And like you said, very easily could have hung his head, thought himself as a failure, but wants to pick himself up. I mean,
Yeah,
was kind of a cool story to see come out of that.
yeah, good mindset.
Absolutely.
Um, Bucks 9, Panthers nothing.
Nice job, Chase McLaughlin.
All right,
Very good.
that's it.
Yep.
Uh,
Congrats to the
Browns
Bucks for making the
31.
playoffs.
Yeah,
Gonna
good
probably
job,
have to
Bucks.
score more than 9 points to win.
Another team. I
Maybe
feel like
not though, because the
a lot of
Eagles suck
people.
right now.
Another team I feel like a lot of people didn't see in the playoffs, but a little different than the Texans. Bengals 31, Browns 14. Bengals also not in the playoffs. Kind of a bummer, even with Jake Browning, because they're the Bengals. But it's okay. Browning played solid, like didn't light it up through the air at all, but threw 3 touchdown passes. Joe Mixon was great. They won, but it's not enough.
Someone's going to pay Browning this offseason, I feel like. Again, I don't know if he's up for a contract. I got to think he is as a backup. I'm not going to say someone's going to pay through the nose to have him as like a starter or anything, but someone's going to give him a decent size little pay grade there with how well he played at times. Filling in for Burrow, obviously.
He's a ERFA, so I'm not sure all the logistics, but that is they have some level of team control.
Oh, okay.
So
like a match type of thing where you get a contract, they can offer the same thing, or
I don't know
lines of that, maybe.
All
right.
Let me see if Spot Rack says anything. Yeah, it says ERFA.
All right.
Yeah,
what D stands for.
it.
I mean, this tough game to talk about because really neither one of these teams are playing for a whole lot of anything. Browns obviously were locked in. Bengals obviously were out. Like you said, though, good to see Browning kind of play well down the stretch. Mixon had finished out the season very strong. Browns obviously were just kind of gearing up for hopefully for their sake a long playoff run with Joe Flacco at the helm.
Yeah, and the Browns just weren't winning with Jeff Driscoll.
No,
wasn't happening.
Nope.
Bad quarterback. Lions 30, Vikings 20. Justin Jefferson gives Vikings fans some hope. 12 on 14 for 192 yards and a touchdown. That wasn't enough. The Vikings also missed the playoffs. Jared Goff, very solid. Montgomery and Gibbs, amazing tandem this year, I'd say. And Amon-Ra St. Brown did Amon-Ra St. Brown stuff, and Sam Laporta got hurt, which sucks.
David Montgomery, and I don't know if you watched the Gridiron Heights videos that come out. I didn't know this until I watched the one the other day about the nickname that Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery have. Did you know their nickname, I think, is maybe it was just made up for the video, so if it was, I apologize. But their nickname is Rhythm and Brews instead of Rhythm and Blues. I found that kind of cool because obviously Gibbs is the more shifty little speed back. David Montgomery will just kind of pound it, right into you. Like, kind of a cool nickname there for, like you said, one of the better, arguably the best running back tandem in the league this year. Because like you might have said this, I may not have been paying attention. Both of them rushed over for 1,000 yards, I think, this year, which is kind of crazy. But this game, everything kind of epitomizes the Lions' very balanced offensive attack. The one thing that stunk was Sam Laporta got hurt with the hyperextended knee, questionable if he will play in the wild card round, which led some people to kind of say and bring up the question, why are you playing the starters in this game if you're the Lions? But I really, can't imagine they had a problem with that. You get you guys ready for them, hopefully a long playoff run. And then the defense was very good as well. So a very balanced attack for the Lions that they're going to need when old friend Matt Stafford comes to town on Saturday, Sunday. I don't know when that game is.
Yeah, I don't know either off the top of my head.
Mm.
Saints 48, Falcons 17. Saints run up the score. Jameis Winston, hilarious, usual Jameis Winston.
Mm.
Arthur Smith is gone, and Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London rejoice.
I'm just gonna say London, they gotta be throwing a party. Yeah.
Just an awful, awful coach. I had no problem with it. Like
the ending of the game we're talking about.
When you win like that, it's Jameis. You have to factor in the Jameis. It's funny. It's a little jackass-ish if it's someone else, but it's Jameis. And then he gave an awesome interview after the game that is prime Jameis. It didn't bother me at all.
See, I didn't know that was the situation because I was watching the game with my dad. Obviously, we both kind of had the same mindset when we saw Smith come out and give it to Dennis Allen. We were like, dude, you gave up an interception return to the 1 yard line. Like, you're going to get scored on in that sense. So just shut up and take it or play. Everyone will obviously argue to play defense. Yeah. But when the Winston stuff came out about, basically throwing an audible, again, it's funny because it's Winston. The problem I feel like some people have with it, I don't care that you scored. I think it was a great move, great teammate move, getting Jamal Williams a touchdown after he had 17 last year and not a single one this year. So kudos to them for,
which is bizarre.
It is very bizarre. Yep. So kudos to them for, having the mindset to get him a touchdown. The problem I have with it is you ran the play out of victory formation. So
Yeah. That's the funny part,
you
though,
basically ran a trick play up
which
41 to
is
17.
awesome.
It is
It's
until
awesome.
I was listening to Zoe like a Bertrand the other day, and Zoe brought up a good point where he said, again, don't have a problem with it, but the problem you do have when you think about it is obviously guys take off that play when the victory formation. So, you run the risk of an injury happening on the defensive player, getting taken out, something like that. So that's where you maybe draw a little bit of a line, being like, all right, there is something to maybe argue there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole thing was funny. Like it's week 18. The Falcons, like, if you're that butthurt about it, again, play better, make the stop. I don't know where Matthew picked that ball off. But like I said, don't let him run the ball back to the 1 yard line with still over a minute left or whatever it was. You're gonna get scored on. Like, you're not just gonna take a knee there
Yeah.
and run out the clock. Like, you
Dennis
could,
Allen was
but
like apologetic about it,
mhm.
talking to Smith, and then the other staff member on I don't know who it was, and the Falcons walked by and called him like a pussy ass motherfucker
Yeah.
or something,
Well,
which was
Dennis Allen
awesome.
probably looked like an idiot there. He had no idea what was going on. It's like, I didn't
Yeah,
make
he
that
was
call.
like,
That's my
geez, sorry
stupid team.
guys.
Yeah.
Like, I had my moron quarterback playing
Mhm.
pranks on me and you
Yep.
guys. Unbelievable. He's the best. Jameis one of
He is
one for
such
a
a
reason.
dope. Yep.
Jameis one of one.
Hmm.
Um, Titans 28, Jaguars 20. It's just classic game for the Jaguars to
Yep.
lose. I should have seen it coming. I think I picked him to win.
We both did. We both did.
Yeah, Derrick Henry saw some of the demise a little bit this year, but still finished with the most carries of any running back in the league. Still a workhorse.
Hmm.
Tajay Spears is solid though. He's definitely going to be more involved next year.
Absolutely.
DeAndre Hopkins did serviceable for what you needed him to be. Like, you needed a good receiver to just not provide a horrible product. And I think he provided
He had
that.
to give you some passing game instead of just running it with Henry
Yeah,
and
because
Spears 90 times.
Traylon Burks is not the guy
Hmm.
at all. Neither is Nick Westbrook Akina, like anyone really on that. God, they need talent at receiver. It's unbelievable how
Well,
bad.
they had it. They traded it away for pretty much nothing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what were your thoughts on, because we really didn't touch a whole lot on Vrabel specifically with the Patriots stuff, but your thoughts on him getting fired? I feel like some people kind of share the same mindset I do, that talking about the AJ Brown trade is what people obviously will bring up and blame the GM for. Kind of got the shit end of the stick there. Like, really wasn't that bad of a head coach with the rosters he had. What was it,
But
2 or 3 years removed from coach of the year? Like, guy was
yeah,
working with what he had, not a good roster, and they were pretty much in it almost every
he
year except for this
said
one.
that there was like nothing bad between them. I think he kind of hated being there a little bit.
I
I don't
think,
think
yeah.
that's come out. Like, snapped at players a couple times, like just didn't look happy.
Mhm.
Bad
You said
team.
this last week, I'm pretty sure, on the
I
show,
don't
that it kind
know.
of looked like he was heading towards
Yes.
the end because of
I
that
don't
stuff.
know why anybody would want that job.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue maybe the only worst job is the Panthers job, because I wouldn't want that with that situation.
The
But the
draft pick
Titans,
will help, though.
the Panthers
I
draft pick.
guess. I mean, no, Titans draft pick.
Oh, Titan. Yeah, I was gonna say the Panthers
They're the
don't
top
have.
10.
Yeah, yeah, that might be the one thing that could sway you to go to Tennessee. I mean, just being
Yeah,
in
the
Tennessee
Jaguars
too,
fired a bunch of
cool. But
staff as well. So,
mhm.
Doug Peterson is alive in that job, though. So, no, he's not, though, in his job. Surprisingly, today's Pete Carroll.
Yeah, this was interesting.
Did not expect this. I guess there's a case for it. But it's crazy. Like, that's a guy that should have a ton of interest still, I think.
Mhm.
They
Well, they said he's going to take
beat
on
the
a
Cardinals.
higher role with with the Seahawks. So I wonder if he kind of does the Bruce Arians thing, just kind of works on
Oh,
the
okay. I didn't see
front.
that. So.
Yeah, he's going to work somewhere within the team. So I got to assume like a front office position maybe, or something like that.
Yeah. Cardinals played tough. Like, I think if you're a Cardinals fan, you have to be a little optimistic because like
For
they
sure.
fought at least this year. Like, they did what they needed for draft position, but they fought.
They were not the terrible team that we thought they were going to be. Like, I think we both picked them to be maybe like a 1 or 2 win team at the start of the year, and obviously they didn't win a whole lot of that. But I feel like you and I both kind of, and a lot of people too, had the consensus of like they're going to get smoked every game until Kyler comes back, and then they're still probably going to lose. But
and you have an easy, maybe two easy decisions in the first round. Receiver at 4, any one of the 4. If you don't like Marvin Harrison Jr., take Neighbors or Odunze. I don't know if I would, but or if Harrison Jr. goes to the Commanders or the Pats. And then I think you take just anyone on defense or an offensive lineman.
One of the tackles.
Other pick. Yeah, there will be plenty of tackles available. Marius Mims, Tyler Guyton, Patrick Paul, if you're high enough on Patrick Paul, Talis Fuaga. I don't know if I said that name right, the kid from Oregon State. Um, there will be guys. There absolutely will be. So your decisions are pretty easy if you're the Cardinals, and you got two great picks. You fought in these games. I think Kyler showed you, like something.
He
Didn't like
did,
blow
yep,
you
down the
away like
stretch. Hmm.
Kyler can. Um, can doesn't always do.
Hmm.
Um, and you got to keep James Conner. Like,
Absolutely.
is he? Did he sign a 1 year deal?
I don't know
He,
what his contract situation is.
I think he
If
signed a
he's
1 year
up,
deal.
he might have.
Or, yeah, okay, he signed a 1 year deal. So, oh wait, no, he signed that last year. So, he's actually UFA next year. So yeah, keep him around for sure. Obviously, they
Hmm.
have no reason to let go of him now. Monster game at the end of the season, over 200 total yards, and a touchdown. Yeah, I think you have to be a little optimistic for the Cardinals.
Absolutely.
Um, Packers 17, Bears 9. Jordan Love, I'm going to give it the Trevor Lawrence treatment and see how he does next year.
Okay,
But
fair enough.
I was wrong. Right now, I was wrong about Jordan Love. He played a great game here, had a pretty solid season overall. I got to admit, too, part of my reason I hated him is because he's on the Packers.
Hmm.
I don't like the Packers because of Aaron Rodgers being there. Um, and I thought, being a backup for so long would either be good or terrible for him. I leaned more on the terrible side. I was wrong. Credit to me for being brave and
Oh,
admitting I was
absolutely, yeah.
wrong. Only
I
took one
admitted.
sack. The offensive line played well in front of him. Aaron
I was,
Jones is great.
yep.
Jaden Reed is the best receiver on the team.
You can make the case. I mean, Dontavian Wicks, I think, made a name for himself these last couple of weeks. Maybe a
I
nice little
love
1-2
this too
punch there, but
because
Jaden Reed is, yeah,
they added all these pass catchers as spite. Tucker Craft is good.
hilarious.
Dontavian Wicks is
Absolutely.
good when he's healthy. I already said Tucker Craft. Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, like didn't have amazing seasons, but like they're good
Mhm.
players.
Yeah, if Christian Watson
You
can
have
stay
you
healthy,
have
he's one, yeah, probably the best
yeah,
receiver on that team,
you
skill
have
wise.
offense. You have offense around him. Maybe you add to that line, maybe you add to that defense a little bit. And their defense was good too. 5 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, 5 QB hits, and 3 pass deflections. Not a ton to take away from this game though. Maybe Justin Fields last. He had some members of the offensive staff. Not he had them, but some of the members of his offensive staff were fired, including Luke Getzey.
Yep.
So maybe they run it back with new personnel. Maybe Justin Fields has some say. I have a hard time seeing them not taking Caleb Williams at 1 though. But maybe they trade out of that pick.
I
So
think they're gonna,
it's a
that would
very
be the
fluid
smart thing to
situation,
do.
a fascinating situation to monitor because they have the 9th pick as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I think if you're them, I feel like I don't know what obviously the quarterback position looks or draft looks like next year. But I think you give Fields one more chance. You try to, like I said before, you try to scam somebody again for that #1 overall pick, like you did the Panthers. Maybe you get a defensive player to go along like they did DJ Moore a year ago. And like I said, really get a nice little haul there. But the big takeaway is it's more of the same. It wasn't a blowout like they usually are, but the Packers just continue to own the Bears. I feel like I don't want to say Love is taking over for Rodgers because we know Rodgers dominated them so much. But nice win for the Packers when they had to get one to get into the playoffs, and like you said, they played a all around pretty good game, even though the score wasn't the craziest looking thing.
No, it wasn't. I saw an interesting trade up in the Athletics latest mock draft today. Atlanta receives #1 from Chicago for 8 and 43 plus a future first round pick and a future second as well.
Wouldn't be the
So
worst thing. Falcons
I
could
think
definitely use a
the
quarterback.
the Falcons should definitely explore it. No doubt about that. But we'll see what happens. Raiders 27, Broncos 14. Meaningless game, really.
Didn't catch any of this game, so I
No,
got
I didn't
nothing.
catch much of it. Aiden O'Connell looked good, I guess, from the stats. Jared Stidham, okay as well. Yeah, I didn't really watch much of this game, but I guess good for the Raiders. Like morale booster win.
Hmm.
They're both out of the playoffs, so
Yeah, exactly.
it's
It's
really
like
just a draft position game.
both these teams not playing for a whole lot, except like you said, the draft spot. The Raiders, I mean, the big thing for them is these last couple of weeks, since the coaching change, obviously looks like they are not a legitimate team, but definitely not the
Mhm.
lackluster team that they were. Their defense has played well down the stretch. Again, in this one, 5 sacks, a pick, 11 quarterback hits, 8 tackles for losses, and 3 pass deflections. So they were building towards something. Maybe with a full year, he played well down the stretch as well. Jack Jones, you get him in that on that team. He keeps his
I
head out
mean,
of his
Jack Jones
ass.
is good.
It was a
Like
good corner.
legit good.
he's good when he can, be on the field and play. So you keep him, out of trouble in the offseason. Maybe you really build something on that defense moving forward. Obviously, like you said earlier, the big thing with them though is what direction they're going to go in the coaching department to see. Personally, I think I'm curious to see if they make the same mistake again of getting rid of a coach that they probably should just make the actual head coach, because we saw it happen a couple years ago with Bisaccia. Played well for him. May or may not have made the playoffs. I can't remember if that was the year. Yeah, that was the Chargers year at the end of the season, if I remember correctly, where they won at the last play of the game, the field goal. But should keep around the guy that they have now moving forward, because it seemed to work well when the coaching change obviously happened.
I agree. I think they should as well. Chiefs Chargers 13-12. Blaine Gabbert versus Easton Stick. The biggest play was on defense in this one from Mike Edwards, 97-yard fumble return, and it was another kicker game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
13-12 wasn't the scoregami. Did you see that anywhere?
No.
Wow.
Good enough. Rams 49ers. Carson Wentz for Sam Darnold. All I care about in this game is that Puka Nacua broke the record. As a fifth-round pick, phenomenal. All the footage came out of the process of them talking up that pick.
Mm-hmm.
How they had Sean McVay and staff had a real plan. And they delivered, because Puka Nacua is very much an elite wide receiver already as a fifth-round pick out of BYU, which is outstanding.
Yeah, and the Rams continue to prove that it doesn't matter who they have a quarterback or who he's playing in that game. They're a team you don't want to see going into the playoffs, because they are very hot, very scrappy. When fully healthy, decent team. When things are clicking.
You gotta give them credit, man.
Absolutely. Another team I feel like that was kind of written off at the start of the year.
Mid-round pick. Kyren Williams right now, top 3 running back in the league. Mid-round pick.
That's a hot take.
Stat-wise,
probably not wrong.
Monster. I don't know when everybody's fully healthy next year, but holy crap, is he good.
Funniest game of the weekend.
Giants 27, Eagles 10.
We should have stuck with our guts. Didn't we both want to pick the Giants for this game?
Yes.
Yeah, we should have went with
stupid.
It. Yep.
Tyrod played pretty good. Saquon played really good. Darius Slayton showed up. And not only does the Eagles' disastrous season since they gave Dom DeSandro the boot, they're 1-5, and since the Nick Sirianni cringe meltdown are 1-5, I believe both those happened in the same game. If I'm wrong, correct me. They lose Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown to injury.
How do I not remember the meltdown for Sirianni? Was that when
he's like?
Was that the Chiefs game?
I just heard it talked about today. I forgot what he said when he yelled up at the fans.
Yeah, that was a Chiefs game.
Yeah, I forgot what he said. Loser.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck the Eagles. They lose to the Giants. That's absolutely hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And also, one Philly L for the week, and we're going to talk about another one later.
Spoiler.
Hockey, so.
Oh yeah, too. I thought you were going with your prediction for Eagles and Buccaneers.
Future.
I caught a little bit of this game, just flipping around at the end of the night. If it wasn't the Giants, this game would have been just an absolute slugfest blowout. Like, the Eagles are lucky it was the Giants at the end of the season, because this very well could have been like a 35-10, 40-10 game. They did not show up for this one at all. Maybe that's like you said, because Brown got hurt early. I think Hurts got hurt. But I think they ended up taking him out just for precautionary reason, because he was throwing the ball on the sideline, so he looked like he was going to go back in and play. But the Eagles, man, they're in trouble. They have nothing going for them right now on either side of the ball. Again, still think it was the dumbest decision to middle of the year, whatever it was at the time that they canned the defensive coordinator and made Matt Patricia, take over the duties. Completely stupid move, and it's coming back to haunt them. And it's hilarious to see, and I hope it continues in the playoffs, because if they go, one and done, it'd be very funny.
Yes, we have some breaking news.
Oh,
I don't know how much this was reported yesterday, but we have details on the Shota Imanaga deal with the Cubs. 4 years, $53 million.
That's like
after
nothing.
2 years, the team has the option to extend the contract to $80 million for 5 years. If they decline, Imanaga has the option to become a free agent.
13.
Same deal after the third year.
$13.25 million for the people who aren't quick at math like me. That's pathetic.
Pathetic
for the Red Sox. Pathetic.
We'll talk about
hilariously
it
pathetic. They did
more
something
in-depth.
very pathetic too. That's just the theme of the day for them. That we'll get to a little later. I don't know if you saw
Yes.
something with Winter Weekend that's happening or not happening. Very funny, very
Very
pathetic.
funny. Cowboys 38, Commanders 10. This is about what everybody should have expected. The Commanders gave up for the second half of the season.
Mhm.
You got to wonder, like you said, does this affect Dak's MVP candidacy? Also, you have to
Definitely
take
makes
into
it
effect that
closer.
he did this against a team that gave up. So,
Mhm.
Ron Rivera gone, should have been gone probably a year ago. Just not a good coach, at all. Great story, battling cancer and all, just not a good coach.
Great
Need to
guy,
move
yeah,
on.
good guy, but not a
Need a
good
guy that's
football
not
mind.
him.
Yeah,
Need a guy that's not him to coach your quarterback in the future. I'm still not fully convinced they're going to take a quarterback. I wonder if Sam Howell, has enough good graces there to give him one more shot. I also think that the team could trade back to stockpile some more
just
assets.
gonna say that. Trade back,
I
get a
wonder.
tackle or something, and then move on
I
from
wonder.
there.
Yeah, I don't know, but I still, if I had to make a defined pick, I think they will take Drake Mayer, Caleb Williams, whoever's available. Maybe Jaden Daniels if they like him enough. Commanders fans have to be thrilled. New owner too. He's gonna want to bring in a guy that he approves of. It just makes too much sense to move on. Cowboys just dominated them. That's really
Mhm.
all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean another
CJ
game that
CJ
was not
CJ Lamb
close.
was nasty again. So
Yep.
Bills
I think
Dolphins.
I was just gonna say I think you've said it a couple times. He's made a case for one of the top receivers in the NFL. Tyreek
He
Hill,
is right now.
he yeah, I was gonna say he hasn't fallen off by any means, but I think CeeDee Lamb has pretty much passed him at this point. He's been
Mm-hmm.
dominant the last month and a half of the year. And again, a guy that you're very excited to see going into the playoffs because a guy that I think can step up, obviously, when the lights shine bright. Cowboys are going to need him too because we obviously know what the Cowboys do when the playoffs start.
Yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm.
Bills 21, Dolphins 14. Josh Allen pretty good besides the picks. He
And
also
the fumble.
fumbled.
Yep.
But Khalil Shakir played really well, led them in the receiving. Dalton Kincaid and Stephon Diggs were good. Trent Sherfield and Dawson Knox both got in the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
Deontay Hardy, 96-yard punt return touchdown. Tyreek and Devin Chain were good. Tua was not.
Ooh, yeah,
And
it
this
was
has
not
to
good.
worry you a little bit going into the playoffs if you're a Dolphins fan.
I'm not a
How do
Dolphins
you
fan, but it
feel
does
about
for
it?
me. I don't feel good about the Dolphins going into Kansas City. We'll get to the playoff preview in a second. I don't feel good about it. On the flip side, for Buffalo, if this is how they're going to operate, and I think how they should operate going into the playoffs, with they're really not being, like you said, Shakir had a nice day, over 100 yards. Diggs got back involved a lot more, with 87 of them. If the Bills are this balanced of an attack on offense, you mix in a little bit of James Cook. We saw some more Leonard Fournette, so maybe getting him ready for the playoffs and in a run. We obviously have seen what he can do in the postseason. If this is what the Bills are going to do on offense, their defense has played great down the stretch as well. Josh Allen cuts down on some of these dumb interceptions, and these dumb turnovers. Maybe this is the year the Bills put it together, but again, they are the Bills. Wouldn't surprise me if this playoff game coming up against the Steelers, probably going to win it, but maybe it'll be a little closer than we think because they might just try to force feed Diggs or try to go in one direction and the offense not look as good as it probably should. But this was a big eye opening win for the Bills, especially in Miami too. Like a lot of people, I feel like pick the Dolphins because of the home factor, but you said it. Dolphins are a finesse bitch team. They can't beat anybody good. So be very interesting to see. Chiefs aren't good this year, but they are still the Chiefs in name, and it's still Patrick Mahomes. So very interesting to see how that playoff game is going to play out.
Me too. Me too. Let's talk about the playoffs, shall we?
Okay.
Browns at Texans. The Texans are hosting a playoff game. Browns are 2.5-point favorites. Over under is 44.5. Browns won 36-22 in week 16. And I'm right with Joe Flacco on this one. He's giving me no reason not to. Just a phenomenal story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with a similar score to week 16. I'm going 30-22 Browns.
I'm going to ride with Flacco as well. I saw some people say, this game might be different than that week 16 matchup because if you remember, there was no CJ Stroud in that game. I can't remember if that was the first game Nico, or if that was the game Nico Collins got hurt in, but he did play. Regardless, the Browns are hot right now. Joe Flacco, one of the better quarterbacks in the league the last, couple games, the way he's played. I hope it's going to be a good game because again, I wanted to see Stroud get into the playoffs. See what he can do. I think he'll step up in the big moments. But the Browns defense just too good. I think this will be a low scoring game. 20-17. Gonna ride with the Browns.
Fair enough. Chiefs and Dolphins. Two teams that, if they weren't playing each other, would lose, I think.
I think so.
Chiefs,
Yeah. Yep.
Chiefs, the 3.5 point favorites. I think home field advantage plays in a factor there. Over under is 43.5. I have the under barely hitting. I have a last minute change. I'm going Dolphins 23, Chiefs 20 in overtime. I have long called the Dolphins a finesse bitch team. I am worried about Chris Jones wreaking havoc on the offensive line. I've talked so much shit on the Chiefs. They're at home.
Yeah, you gotta
I don't like them though.
Gotta keep
I
going.
don't like this team. I don't like this team. And I'm very much looking forward to Tyreek Hill versus L'Jarius Sneed. A lot of it's gut. I'm not high on the Chiefs. I'm not high on the Dolphins, but
you've been consistent. I'll give you that. You're not flipping.
The big thing, Tyreek and Jalen Waddle are limited, which gives me pause. So, but I'm going with the Dolphins. I can't pick the Chiefs. It doesn't feel right. I'm picking the Dolphins in overtime, 23-20.
I hate it, but I can and I will pick the Chiefs.
I understand.
Because I don't know if you know this, and I don't know if the report that I saw was correct, but it is supposed to either be or feel like -2 in Kansas City when this game takes place.
I'm picking the Chiefs.
I was just gonna say, does that scare you from picking the Dolphins? Because
reverse.
So flip it. Yep.
I'm gonna go.
It was written in pen or pencil, so you can erase it, and nothing is permanent.
23-17 Chiefs.
No overtime. All right.
No overtime anymore. 23-17.
Still, quick math, still the under though. So you were taking the under. I'm just barely going with the over. I hate it. I don't know why I'm taking the over. But I feel like the Chiefs are gonna score, give some people that bet the under a heartbreaker. 24-20 Kansas City. I think Mahomes. Well, it won't be pretty at times, but I think they'll find a way. And again, I think the cold is going to have a massive factor. I didn't know that both Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are both limited. So that kind of scares me a little bit. I think the Dolphins, if they can get Raheem Mostert back, that'll help, obviously. But I'm kind of the same way with Lamar Jackson. I am with Tua. Like, you got to show me something in the playoffs, man. And until you do, I'm not going to stick with you because we've seen what Tua does in big games. He tends to falter more so than not. In a game with Tua versus Mahomes, I can't go against Mahomes as bad as it's been this year for Kansas City. Plus, they had a week to get everybody, a little bit healthier. Kelsey obviously sat the last week of the season, so if he bounces back, it wouldn't surprise me. Again, it's all going to come down to outside of him, who's going to step up for the Chiefs. It'll probably be Rajee Rice, or Pacheco, but maybe you get somebody of that terrible wide receiver core finally breaking through in this one.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna. They just need Travis Kelce to beat Travis Kelce. Like,
it wouldn't surprise me if their defense has like a pick six and like a scoop and score against Tua.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. Like the weather is a big factor. They will poop themselves. I did not know that. They will poop themselves. Sunday games, Steelers at Bills. If you're picking the Steelers, I don't know what you're doing.
You're a Steelers fan.
The Bills are +10. Which I do not think they will cover.
-10.
Or the Bills are -10, which I do not think they will cover. The over-under is 35.5. This is the Bills, but it's going to be close because the Steelers are going to run the ball. They're going to be motivated because they're a Mike Tomlin team. They ground and pound. They're tough. Going to want to, win and stay alive as long as possible to get TJ back. I don't think it'll work. Nope. I also think if they win, there's a chance TJ just comes back a week early somehow.
Probably, yep. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
I saw JJ Watt put out, do you think they'd notice if he just showed up in TJ's uniform? That would be pretty funny. It'd be a great prank. It is Bills 20, Steelers 13 for me. A nice basic football score.
It is. I'm going to go with 24-10 in favor of the Bills. I'm with you. I think this is a game the Bills probably should blow this team out, but they're not going to. Maybe that's because the Steelers, like you said, kill the clock and keep the ball away from Buffalo. I just think you're going to get one of those Bills coming off a big win. A little bit of a letdown performance here. Maybe get you questioning some of the things they're doing, but in the end, they are the better team. They're going to prevail. And obviously the home factor is a big player as well.
Yes, and this might be, besides one other, the game I'm looking forward to the most.
I thought the
Packers and
same thing.
Cowboys.
This might be one of the better games of the weekend.
Cowboys are 7.5 point favorites, which I think might be a little high. Not too high, maybe
I don't.
slightly.
Spoiler alert.
Um, I cannot wait to see how Mike McCarthy fucks this up. Win or lose, he will fuck up. He might fuck up multiple times.
Mhm.
I cannot wait. This is the most exciting part about a Mike McCarthy team making the playoffs for me every time it happens. Because you can set your watch to it.
Bound to happen. Yeah, you're right.
Set your watch to it. And it's always awesome. It always makes you laugh. And now he's with the Cowboys. It's even better if it happens. Um, this is my OT game. I had 2 OT games. I'm going 26-23
I'm
Cowboys in overtime.
shocked
I
you
think the
have this as
Packers
close as you do.
I think the Packers fight in this game.
Mhm.
I think this is a team that very much could have missed the playoffs. I think Mike McCarthy is a goof. I think Jordan Love is going to be very motivated. I think Packers and the Cowboys are a great. Are they a rivalry? They're a rivalry, I guess.
Two historic franchises for sure.
A little bit of a rivalry. I'll say not like a conventional rivalry, but I think um, it's in terms of the historic aspect, you can make the
Mhm.
case. I don't know what I'm, the exact avenue I'm going with here, but I don't know. I think you kind of consider them a little bit of rivals.
Mhm.
Um, Cowboys 26, Packers 23 in overtime.
I hate picking blowouts in playoff games. I think the playoffs, obviously, you're going to get both teams' best performance. I think these games usually going to be close, down to the wire, hopefully for the sake of entertainment. Um, I don't think that's going to be the case here. I'm going to go against myself. I'm going to pick a huge, huge blowout. Cowboys 30, Packers 16. I think this is going to prove that obviously the Cowboys, it was big it was going to be big who won the NFC East, because if the Cowboys went on the road or had to go on the road, you got weren't going to get a similar matchup with the Packers. But if this was on the road in Green Bay, I wouldn't hate picking the Packers, because obviously, like you said, you can set your watch to when you get a Cowboys or Mike McCarthy screw up. They're at home this game. We've seen this season they don't lose at home. It would be funny though if their first loss of the year at home comes in the playoffs against the Packers. But it's the Cowboys in this one. I think they blow out the Packers. Just far too much talent on Dallas's side of the ball.
That's fair. That's fair.
Mhm.
Just thinking another way. Um, Rams and Lions. This is the game for me. I am so fucking excited for this game. With the way the Rams have
How could you
defied the
not
odds
be?
this year,
Yeah,
Matt Stafford going back to Detroit. Two really fun teams to watch. The Lions been a little rocky at times late in the season, but two really fun teams to watch. The Lions are in the goddamn playoffs. That
crazy to
doesn't
think.
happen. The Browns are in the goddamn playoffs. That
With
doesn't
Joe
really
Flacco at
happen either.
quarterback,
Joe Flacco, a quarterback. Who would have
Texans are in
thought
the
in any
playoffs.
alternate universe? The Texans are in the playoffs. Rams Lions is going to be so much fun. And I'm sorry, Lions fans.
I hate
I'm
you for
going with the
making this
upset.
pick. Hate you.
Rams 24, Lions 20. I like what the Rams are cooking. I think, the playoff experience is going to help. I think the
Mhm.
coaching in the playoffs is going to help. And I don't know if the Lions defense can stop Cooper Kupp, and Kyron
That
Williams
is the
enough, but they
one
will
thing to
keep it
worry about
close.
for sure.
I think their offense is going to be alive. I think Dan Cable might do something crazy out of pure adrenaline or say something crazy.
Mhm.
This game is going to be so much fun. I cannot wait. This is one of my more anticipated playoff games in a
In a
long time.
while, I feel, yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the storylines alone, because I obviously you personally, I forget about the whole Goff situation too, having to play against the Rams. Obviously, it's stupid to say because they were traded for each other.
Same.
See, I'm glad you didn't, because everyone's talking about obviously Stafford returning against the Lions to Detroit. Like you also maybe forget, like you and I did, that Goff, getting to play the Rams again. So I think this game has dual heartbreak written all over it. I'm
Oh
going with
yeah.
the Lions 27-24 on a last second field goal. I think you're going to have a couple of scores within the final like minute and a half of this game. I think Stafford at one point towards the end is going to walk right down the field, give Lions fans that like, oh no, we got so close. But we just still can't get over the hump. There's still just something around this Lions team. And then, like you said, Dan Campbell gonna do something crazy. Maybe he has a fourth and whatever, got to go for it, and he runs some kind of crazy fake. Maybe an offensive lineman catches a ball on the final drive for the Lions. I think Goff's gonna take it right down the field, put the Lions in some sort of crazy field goal spot. They hit it, they move on. For like you said, one of the more entertaining games, hopefully of the entire stretch or entire slate this weekend.
Yep, so pumped. I want to see craziness. I hope there are more points than we project.
Mhm.
So I think there could be.
I
I
just hope
hope the
this isn't
Lions
like
win
a
too.
10 to
I hope
7
I'm wrong.
game. Like
Yeah,
I
no
feel like we
way.
tend to get these from time, these awesome games on paper, and then they just stink. I hate myself for even saying it and hopefully not
I
speaking it
do
into
too.
existence. But like just pray for points in this one.
Yeah, exactly. Monday Night Football.
This game's gonna suck. If there's one on the
Bucks.
slate that's gonna stink, it's gonna be this one.
Please, Tampa Bay. Please, this would be so funny. And it's so doable. Eagles at Bucks. Eagles are 3-point favorites. The over-under is 44.5. I can't wait. I can't wait. The anticipation all day is gonna be so extreme. Um, it's gonna be awesome.
Mhm. I hate that
The
this is the
Eagles are gonna
Monday night
lose.
game.
The Eagles are gonna lose. It's gonna be great.
Mhm.
Bucks
I don't
17, Eagles 13. Disgusting football game.
Yeah, I have 20 to 18 bucks. Real quick, because I've obviously this has been a hot button topic. We didn't talk about it in the Chiefs game. I didn't know if you knew this, but that Chiefs Dolphins game is the one that is exclusively on Peacock. So hopefully you have Peacock if you want to watch that game. Um, Whoever made the scheduling, and my dad always argues like, oh, it's made it before the season starts. Like this playoff slate was a joke. Like, how do you have Eagles and Buccaneers as the Monday night game? Like, you're putting the winner of the NFC South on primetime Monday Night Football. Just that fact alone is idiotic. And then again, hilarious that potentially the maybe outside of the Lions and Rams for the storylines and everything, but two of the more prolific offenses of late or teams, whatever you want to say, and the Chiefs and the Dolphins. That's the game that gets put on the streaming only one. I guess it works out for now. People, going to have to, if they don't have it, pay for that game. And that'll get
People are gonna
viewership in
want to
that
pay to
sense.
see Taylor Swift.
That too, yep. So that works out in the end. But I just found that hilarious. Like that's the one that's behind the paywall. Like, way to go, schedule makers. like again, Texans have been a nice story, but Texans Browns, that's the game that you should be putting on the streaming service. Like if people don't want to watch that, then all the power to you. But and then
No,
again,
no, it's Flacco versus the Texans who shouldn't have made the playoffs. No,
that's
Ryan,
fair.
disagree.
Yeah,
But
fair.
there is more of a case than a lot of these games. Maybe
Hmm.
Steelers and Bills,
Yeah, that's another
just from
one.
the
Like,
crappiness factor.
yeah.
Um, but that's gonna wrap it up for football. I'm so excited, but football is waning on us. College
Hmm.
football is over. Michigan beat Washington, and now we have dwindling NFL games. It's just that time of year. But
Yep.
when the NFL season's over, you'll have the Red Sox eventually to watch. I don't know why I said them first. I was thinking about Imanaga. I don't, Jesus, why
Keep
did I
thinking.
say that?
Keep dreaming.
Celtics and Bruins. Ignore that. The Bruins are very up and down lately. 4-game losing streak, 4-game winning streak, 2-game losing streak. Wait, maybe not 4-game winning streak. Don't fact check me on that. The Penguins. They lose the Penguins 6-5 in an absolutely chaotic first period. 6 goals. Swayman makes 29 saves and 35 shots. Not his best. Not all his fault. 35-29 Penguins with shots. A dreadful 35% on the draws. I don't like this trend, but it gets a little better, I
I was gonna
promise.
say they suck at I was gonna say
Um,
free throws and face offs all of a sudden.
and they didn't have Johnny Beecher. They didn't have Johnny Beecher. He's been decent on the faceoffs this year. Geeky, DeBrusque, and Marchand forced the comeback from down 5-2. Marchand shorthanded goal, going inside physically to beat Letang and roofing it. Was such a vintage Marchand goal. He loves those clutch goals as well. Very clutch, shorthanded. Mason Lohrei, rough one, -3 in this game. Marchand had 2 goals, McAvoy had 2 points, and Geeky and Pasa East had 3, but they come up short. This game was just pure chaos. That's all that really my takeaway is.
Mhm.
And one Jeremy Swayman will like to forget. Tampa Bay, 7-3 win. Chaos in a wonderful way. Allmark, 23 saves and 26 shots. Had a little brain freeze there. Dead
It's
even
okay, it
in shots,
happens.
though. 26-26. They won more draws this game,
That's
52%.
good.
A big statement win. Tampa Bay isn't typical Tampa Bay. We talked about Vasilevsky not quite looking like vintage Vasilevsky. He didn't in this game. Trent Frederick, legit scoring threat at this point.
He's been
Playing very
great. Yeah.
good, very confident. Only 6 Bruins on the team did not have a point. Frederick, Patra, Pasa, and Lindholm all had 2. Just a great statement win for the Bruins. And got to feel pretty good. Frederick had a couple. McAvoy had one. Pasta, Geeky, Coyle, DeBrusque. And Coyle scored a nice breakaway at the end, which is always fun. Colorado lose 4-3 in a shootout. Jeremy Swayman makes 33 saves and 36 shots. They outshoot the Avalanche miraculously, 36-26, and killed 5 of 6 penalties against the Colorado
Pretty
Avalanche.
good against the Avs, yeah.
Without Derek Forbert, who's been out for a while. As you tweeted, and I echo this sentiment, a tough look for Shattenkirk and Zaka on that geeky O'Connor goal. Pavel Zaka needs to figure it out. And I think part of it, I think part of it is him on the wing. I think a lot of this, even with Bergeron and Krejci around, played a lot of center, kind of seasoning him to be the next guy. Geeky's earned his first line center minutes, but I think you got to find a way to get Zaka back to center, and I think the Matthew Patra injury might be a way to do that. Just got to shift things around. Move Trent Frederick up.
Wouldn't hate that.
Oh, Georgi Merkulov up and actually play him on the third line instead of the fourth. John Beecher comes back in the lineup after 2 healthy scratches, lays out Devin Taves behind the net, and scores a goal. A nice gritty 4th line goal. He was pumped. Random observation about the Avalanche. I don't know if you watched this game. Sam Olinsky, number 70, played 3 years at Cornell, known as a shifty puck mover, can walk the line. He is such an Avalanche defenseman. The way he skates, the way he walks the line, they love guys like that. Byron can do it. Gerard can do it. Makar can do it. Just a perfect fit. Great player at Cornell as well. Phenomenal spinning pass from Coyle to Marchand in the tying goal. But they lose in the shootout. A little bit chaotic in overtime at times. DeBrusque and Coyle trying different moves than they usually do. DeBrusque usually does a little flick over the left shoulder.
Yeah.
Coyle does go bing, 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 boom. Every time it works, almost every time. And then Pasta.
And Pastrnak looked like me in the shootout.
Of these nonchalant moves where he just scores, he kind of throws you off, I guess. Didn't work this time. Georgiev had the 5-hole. A lot of people got in for it. It's just kind of his thing. It didn't work this time. It looks stupid. I wish he did
so
something
bad.
else.
Yeah,
for sure. Especially with what he is capable of. But it's not that big of a deal. But it was dumb looking. Could have done something different.
It looks bad too, especially when he's the third guy. And it's all right, now you kind of need to ramp it up a little bit here. Now you're giving Colorado the chance to walk off like they obviously did. So after you see DeBrusque and Coyle, like you said, actually try some things, see if that works. If those don't work, then Pastrnak comes out. And like you said, there's obviously a reason why he does that. But to the average hockey fan watching, you sit there and go, he literally just shot the puck at the goalie, didn't do anything. So it makes it, like you said, look way worse than it maybe actually was. Because again, he is probably trying to throw. Because again, I figured as soon as you see Pastrnak come out there, okay, he's going to do the usual move. The hold it behind him, the thing that always amazes me. That's the one to me that looks like going, I don't give a crap. I'm just going to come up here and just whip this thing by you. This was literally I looks like I don't even care to be out here type of thing, which is so bad looking, like you said.
I will remind people that are getting on him, though, that he is still David Pastrnak. And
True.
Without Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci and Coyle, Zaka, Geeky as the centers, he has 57 points in 40 games.
Probably going to get more, too, at some point this season.
It's pretty insane how good he's playing without those aforementioned centers that are no longer in the NHL. A weird one in this. Oscar Steen and Curtis McDermott both served too many men penalties simultaneously. I was shocked to find out this is the 8th time this has happened.
Wow, I wouldn't have figured it was that high.
The last time, November 30th, 2006. That was 4 days. 4 days after I turned 9.
I'm sure you remember it very vividly.
I do. Yes. Yep. This is funny too because it made me think about how they were short on forwards, and Curtis McDermott, who's their 7th defenseman, played 4th line left wing, and they called up Jason Polin from the minors, who has 2 points in his AHL career to play 4th line right wing.
Nice.
And Fortunately, the Bruins lost them, but you'll give them the benefit of the doubt when you're playing the Colorado Avalanche. Unfortunately, the Colorado kid, Brandon Carlo, gets hurt in this game. Didn't really see anything specifically that hurt him, but he's day to day, thank God. And yeah, that's about it. Arizona last night at Mullet Arena, 4-3 loss in overtime this time. Moved to 24-8-8 on the season. Omar made 32 saves and 35 shots. They outshot the Coyotes 36-33 and won 58.2% of their draws and were 50% of the power play. Not too bad. Pastrnak goal, like, come on. Just ridiculous shot. Nothing to work with. Plenty of space, but not a lot of space in the net. Jesper Boqvist played very well last night. Yeah, I thought of maybe he's the 13th forward. Ever since he's been called up, he's played with speed, he's played with pace. Nice change of pace on the, to add some skill to the fourth line. Nothing against Beecher, Steen, Lauko. A little more skill at times. Absolute rocket, sniped it. He's played great these last couple of games. So I don't know, maybe that's something to monitor going forward, how much Jesper Boqvist stays up. But at least you have a great call-up option, I think. Dylan Guenther recently called up, very high draft pick a few years ago. Rips one past Linus Ullmark. Goals in back-to-back games, making his case to stay and not go back to play for Tucson. Tough one for Mason Lowride, trips on the blue line. I think a rebound Ullmark could have contained, and Matias Michelli scores. Then we see a type of DeBrusque goal I've been waiting to see for a while, him unleashing that shot. Couple empty netters recently has helped build up his confidence, I think. He's been contributing some assists. Maybe he listened to the podcast, heard our criticism. Looks great lately. Maybe not great, but better.
He looks noticeable. That's noticeable. The way I would I'd describe it.
That's a good way to put it. On the Schmaltz winner, I didn't see it live. I watched the replay. I tried my hardest to stay awake for back-to-back 9:00 games the whole time. Made it through the Colorado game. Didn't make it through this one. Tried my hardest. A little too conservative defensively on the Schmaltz goal. Gave him too much space. That's about it. Great shot by Schmaltz as well.
Yeah, especially when you have Swayman out there who's as cold as he could possibly be. Like
that's also true.
Also would have thought like you would maybe protect your goal a little better in that situation. I completely forgot to text you today to see if you had heard anything about the Ullmark injury, if they had released anything, because didn't look great obviously when it happened. The fact that he had to pretty much be pushed off of the ice, wasn't putting really any pressure on his lower half. Like not a good sign there, but that was kind of the thing for me is like as soon as that happened, kind of could see the writing on the wall. Like Swayman obviously has been good this year, but you're not going to have a ton of confidence in a goalie, like I said, as cold as he was going into that game, especially if he gets peppered. Obviously only faced one or two shots, if that. And like you said, the defense was as porous gets at the worst possible time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an awful situation. Game we probably should have won.
Yep, absolutely.
I also heard from a friend that they weren't great in overtime this time as well, which is a little bit concerning.
Not, yeah.
Marchand didn't have a point in this one, but I wanted to highlight he's got 10 points in his last 9 games, 4 goals in his last 4. Matt Poitras seemed really shooken up with a shoulder injury from a hit. He took the worst of on Sean Dursey. Didn't look super bad, but I don't know what happened. Looked like he was in a lot of pain though, so I'm a little worried about Poitras. I think he might miss some time. That didn't look like a minor injury to me. Maybe he's a little bit got the wind knocked out of him as well, a little combo. And Ullmark, I'm really worried about Ullmark.
Wasn't good. That was the one I missed. I can't remember what I was doing, the Poitras one, but the Ullmark one was not good.
I don't know, but you wonder about a tear when you're splitting like that. Can't get off the ice. Can't really move much at all. Very concerned about Ullmark. They haven't given us, the verbiage from team doctors of Montgomery that I've seen to be super concerned, but the way he just sprawls super quickly makes you worry about a tear, at least me. I'm very worried. According to Mark Diver, Brandon Bussey is expected to join the team to Vegas. So we'll see how long Ullmark's out. Hopefully it's not long. I bet Jeremy Swim is wondering that as well. He doesn't want his buddy watching from the 9th floor. So the 3rd longest game of the season.
It did feel like watching.
Does it have a pace? Does the NHL have a pace of play issue?
Yeah,
the NHL need a shot clock.
Yep, they need a shot clock.
The NHL would be awful with a shot clock. Holy fuck! Way to destroy creativity.
Be weird, that's for sure. It's interesting you bring that up because watching that game, a couple of times, like I found myself looking at the clock, being like, Jesus, I want to go to bed. Like, come on, what's taking so long? So it's funny you brought that up. I mean, obviously, kind of the old Mark situation, maybe, raise the time a little bit because it did
Mhm.
take him quite a bit of time to get off the ice,
Yeah,
obviously,
I
with the
missed it.
injury. But it is,
Yeah,
like
I
I
was
said,
too
funny you
sleepy.
brought that up.
I was too sleepy. I couldn't stay up.
Hmm.
Um, Vegas at Vegas and to go see Bruce Cassidy tomorrow. They are no longer at the top of the Pacific Division. The surprising Vancouver Canucks are. Um, excuse me. They're 23-12-5 though, second in the Pacific. Jack Eichel playing fantastic, 42 points in 40 games. Um, Vegas is struggling right now. They're 3-7 in the last 10 games. So,
It's not good.
Aiden Hill maybe coming back tonight. This will be the second half of back to back to that for them. Logan Thompson's hurt, so not really sure who we're gonna see in net. Not sure who they called up. I believe they Yuri Patera in the minors. Maybe they called him up. So yeah, some uncertainty in goal, uncertainty with the team in play. So we'll see what happens with Vegas. But this is a much more winnable game than it might have been with a healthy team, a team playing better. So maybe something you can take advantage of. First meeting with the Blues at St. Louis, shamefully in sixth place in the division, 2018 41 points. Robert Thomas, fantastic though, 41 points in 39 games. I think one of the best passers in the whole league. Jordan Binnington, 13, 11, and 1, a 305 goals against, and a 905 save percentage, just one shutout. Ass. This team is so bad that they're trying to get him into the All-Star game.
Ugh.
On the topic of the All-Star game, can we please go back to just getting the best players? Not every team needs an All-Star. The Chicago Blackhawks are not going to have Connor Bedard in the All-Star game because he is out 6 to 8 weeks with jaw surgery on
Fractured
a
jaw,
fractured
right?
jaw.
Yeah.
I love Jason Dickinson, and he's probably going to be their All-Star. Out
Hmm.
of nowhere, has 14 goals. Um, go back to the old All-Star game, best players. Like, I get it. It brings the fans and shit into it. Gives them something to root for in the All-Star game. There's positives and negatives. The All-Star game was better when it was the best players in the league.
Hmm.
Just was. Um,
Baseball
the
is really the
Blues
only
suck.
one that should, with the amount of teams. I mean, you could maybe argue, well, everyone has similar teams, but like with the amount of players on the roster, like baseball, I feel like it's the only one that you could probably argue should have at least one. Like maybe you can make the case with football. I was surprised, obviously, last week when we found, or 2 weeks ago, whenever that was. I, for the longest time, was under the impression that you got one in football, but yeah, I'm with you. Like for hockey, especially if it's still 3-on-3, I don't know if they changed that because I obviously don't really keep up with the All Star game, to be honest, in hockey. Um, keep it to the best players. Like especially like for basketball, you obviously have a limited amount of guys on a roster for an all-star game. Like you should not be picking one from every team at this point.
It sucks. New Jersey, again, saw them recently. 21-15-2. 44 points fifth in the Metro. Jack Hughes, despite only playing 32 games, still leads them in scoring because he is, in fact, Jack Hughes. He's also hurt. So we will not see him most likely in this game. Got 45 points in 32 games, though. Very good player. We know the drill with them. Seen him recently. Um, their goaltending stinks too, so this is a winnable game for that reason alone. Um, Shane Bauer's revenge game, of course, because everybody remembers Shane Bauer's illustrious career with the
Yeah.
Boston Bruins, traded for Riley Walsh, who's in the minors. Just a little goofing because they called him up because they have some injuries. That's it for Bruins. We have some NHL notes though. The USA won the World Juniors. We won money.
Thank you. I was
Wonderful.
just gonna say thank you for the money.
Um, Played great. Didn't have to sweat in the third period. Scored a bunch of goals. A lot of taunting with the kissing
Yeah, what
celebration.
happened at the end of the game? I saw on Twitter people were losing
Uh,
their minds because was there a big
yeah,
fight or
they're
something?
blowing kisses. Elias Pettersson, not the Elias Pettersson you're thinking of, a
Okay,
defenseman that's also drafted by the Canucks, though. They have both of them.
that makes it confusing then.
Then we need three more so they could get the Infinity Gauntlet of Elias Pettersson's. um, yeah, he just tried to fight Lane Hudson, like a big defenseman trying to fight a 5'9" guy and like kind of struggling is pretty
Big
embarrassing.
tough guy. Yeah.
Jonathan Lekaramaki had some words for Cutter Gauthier in the line. I don't know what that was about. Cutter Gauthier we'll talk about in a second.
Maybe. Yeah, I was just gonna say maybe he was asking him where he's going.
I don't know.
He was
Yeah,
trying to get
maybe
the
he
inside
knew.
scoop.
They won the World Juniors. They played phenomenal, and I'm very happy. 7 BC guys all coming back with gold medals. Love that. William Nylander, 8 years, 92 million with the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's about $46 million tied up in four players. Mitch Marner, due for an extension potentially this summer. That 10.9 will go up to potentially 12, 12 and a half, 13. So that's even more. John Tavares, maybe that number goes down if they let John Tavares walk in 2 summers, but maybe they keep him around at a much cheaper price, and that offsets it a little bit. But yes, William Nylander, phenomenal player. The dream of and the hope I was having of him going to Chicago and playing with Connor Bedard is dead. $69 million signing bonus, nice.
Nice.
And a no move clause for all 8 years. That could be
That's
dicey.
wild.
I don't think William Nylander's skilled enough though, where I joked like, oh, that no move clause because he'll be 36. But I can see Nylander still being pretty solid. But I don't know. That 11 and a half is a lot. 11 and a half at that point might be nothing for a player like him, but he definitely won't
That's
be
fair.
as good.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to monitor that number. The shocker of the week. Boston College star forward Cutter Gauthier signing rights traded to the Anaheim Ducks for Jamie Drysdale and a 2025 second-round pick. Cutter Gauthier has ghosted the Philadelphia Flyers for months, will not talk to them, said it was a decision for him, his family, and his agent today. He liked an Instagram post yesterday calling the Flyers fans scumbags, so maybe he didn't like the fans either. I imagine
Just hated the whole situation.
Played some factor into it, despite the story that him and Torts had a good relationship, but Torts said, I don't know from a hole in the wall. He's not on our team. We're not going to talk about him. Very negative response from Keith Jones, like, if you don't want to play here, we don't want you. Danny Briere handled the media very well, and Anthony Sanfilippo or D Filippo said he was hearing from inside the organization that Kevin Hayes persuaded him to do this, and Kevin Hayes vehemently denied it, calling him some not nice things. And yeah, that's about that.
Great
Kevin
situation.
Hayes, yeah, great situation. A whole shit show. Gauthier was not going to sign with them. Apparently, there was a scuffle over the Flyers not signing him after his freshman year at BC last year, which would have caused a bonus overage that would have caused the Flyers to be over the cap. So that was part of it. I don't think that, from what it sounds like, that sat very well with Cutter. And he spurns the city of Philadelphia. The city of Philadelphia hates him. I think it's awesome. I can't wait till he signs after the season because I think he's going to leave. I think that was probably, agreed upon in the trade that Anaheim will sign him after BC wins the national championship this year. And that kind of makes me want to look at the Ducks' schedule because
when do they
Ryan,
play?
they might have a game against the Flyers before the end of the regular season.
Ooh, you can call him up.
This would be a tight window though. See if it's even anywhere near. Ducks Flyers.
Interconference that late in
I
the
don't
year?
see it.
Probably not. Yeah.
Damn it. All right. Well, we'll have to wait till next year because they will sign Cutter Gauthier. I'm hoping there's a chance he signs because BC will have or he stays because BC will have a God squad next year if he does. This trade was wild. I saw the original tweet from David Pagnotta and had to check if it was a fake account because I did not believe it. Nobody knew about the story to protect the player, to protect his trade value. Wild. Jamie Drysdale, very good player, can be, but has been injured a shit ton. High draft pick, 6th overall, 3 years ago. Very good player. Trevor Zegras, his best buddy. Trevor Zegras could be on the trade block now. Apparently, there were rumors they had conversations last summer. We had those in the summer, and now those are resurfacing again. Maybe they try and move him. That would be pretty wild. But at the same time, if he stays, you got Leo Carlson, you got Trevor Zegras, you got Cutter Gauthier, you got Mason McTavish, and some other guys to build around for the future. And if Cutter Gauthier needs to play wing to make that work, I think that'll be fine. This is a great pickup for the Ducks. I think they have a lot of defensive prospects, which made Drysdale a little expendable. So very interesting trade. I'm excited to see Cutter not have to play in Philly because that's something I dreaded from the second they drafted him because I hate Philly. And it's just so awesome. It's so awesome. The overreactions, some justified, some not, have been so fucking funny on Twitter. People just absolutely laying into this guy. It's been pure comedy. Some of it is just so clown. The fact that Kevin Hayes has been involved in this and people are sending him death threats to him and his family and saying it's a good thing that his brother died and stuff.
That's wild.
absolutely psychotic behavior and just completely unjustified. Just shows how psycho people are and how people react out of anger. Just absolutely fucked up. The trade tree for this one, or at least, maybe not the trade tree, but how it evolves is going to be fascinating. One of the more shocking trades ever. But Flyers fans can't really complain because you got Eric Lindros in this type of situation in the past. Not exactly, but you got Eric Lindros in this type of situation. So you've been on the other side of it. Trevor Zegras could be on the move, but got hurt against Nashville last night. So I think teams will line up for him. I don't think the Bruins will be one of them. I like Trevor Zegras, but I don't think they have the assets to get him. Like we said, Connor Bedard's undergoing surgery on his jaw, which he fractured from hit on Brendan Smith, which Devils fans or Blackhawks fans clownishly called dirty. It wasn't. Bedard's shorter than Smith. It was a clean hit. Got the shoulder and the jaw. Hit him. Wasn't dirty. It's as simple as that. And Georgia Merkulov, as we found out during the show, is an AHL All-Star,
Nice.
which is awesome. He's had a phenomenal season, but might be getting called up soon with Matt Poitras' status. Do you have anything to add on any Bruins or NHL-related matters before we switch to baseball?
Not really. The only thing that kind of stood out to me is you said the Knights have been struggling, but of course it is still a good team. One of the things that stood out to me from the Colorado game was just obviously, Bruins have been a good team, but I think it isn't too crazy to say that the level of talent on Colorado was a little bit better than the level of talent on the Bruins all around. Just the fact that the Bruins, watching the majority of that game, were able to skate so well and keep pace with Colorado, I thought was really impressive. So, obviously the Knights probably aren't as fast of a team. Maybe I'm wrong as Colorado is, but, try to build off of that performance going up against the Knights. I know you said they've been struggling, but they are still the Vegas Golden Knights. They are still very good. So, don't, even if they have been struggling, don't take that with a grain of salt. And then the usual, when you see St. Louis on the schedule, if he plays, beat the bag out of Jordan Binnington. Cause again, that's a guy that you just love to root against because he makes it so easy.
And with a litany of shots.
Oh, either way, beat the bag out of him in whichever way you want to take it. Because I think you and I will be fine with it. And then New Jersey, I feel like the Bruins, it's always a decent matchup with New Jersey. So whether they have goaltending or not, just be ready for that game as well.
Agreed. Baseball though, things aren't so good in the baseball world.
They're getting worse too. They're getting
we have the
very
sale
worse.
trade, we have the Giolito signing, and things haven't been good since. And Shohei Ohtani, as I think I joked about, is ruining baseball, in my opinion, because we're getting 1-year contracts deferred for 8 years. Now people are going to start doing this. It's preposterous, it's stupid, and it needs to be regulated going forward.
Yes, the deal you were referring to, if you were a Red Sox fan that thought they were going to shell out money and get Teoscar Hernandez, you're a dummy. Sorry, but that's just the way it is. Monday night, we found out, like you said, that Teoscar Hernandez, he joined Shohei Ohtani, signed with the Dodgers, a 1-year, $23.5 million deal. And as you alluded to, the tweet from Jeff Passan that pissed you and I feel like a lot of other people off, was that of the $23.5 million, not billion, in Teoscar Hernandez's deal, $8.5 million will be deferred to be paid out from 2030 to 2039. So add that to the deferred money for, I think it's now Mookie, Freddie Freeman, Shohei. I can't remember if Yamamoto had deferred money or not in that as well. He probably does. Passan also went on to say the corner outfield market is tough, and Hernandez opted for a big 1 year with the best team over other multi-year offers, multi-year deals, including one that the Red Sox reportedly offered him from Chris Cotillo. He said the Red Sox weren't competitive at the end for Teoscar Hernandez, according to Chris Cotillo. This is from another tweet referencing Cotillo's. This went on to say they discussed a 2-year, $28 million framework, which doesn't compete at all with the $1 and $23.5 million that Teoscar Hernandez got from the Dodgers. So shocker. Color me shocked that the Red Sox were reportedly in and were ready to go all in, as we heard on a free agent. This time a bat, not a pitcher, of course, but shockingly decided to lowball the guy. And in the end, he said, no, I'll go play for a team that's going to make my contract work and I'll have a really, really good shot of winning the World Series with, instead of your crap bag organization that doesn't want to pay for anything. The good thing about this is we talked about this and we're worried about this last week. When the reports were out there that the Red Sox were trying to shed payroll, so they could sign a free agent. We kind of thought that was the Teoscar Hernandez situation there. So luckily that wasn't the case.
I was worried about a 4-year deal too.
Yeah, that was the other thing too. It came out.
The initial report, I feel like a month ago.
It was, yeah. He was looking for a 4-year deal, which kind of scared some people off. Their initial report to that too was that the Red Sox were only willing to go 3. Now apparently that wasn't even true because it was only a 2-year offer they offered him. So again, it just blows my mind. I feel like you feel the same way as well. Not that this is a guy that we were clamoring for, don't get me wrong. But again, I've said it all offseason. If there's a guy that you want, you're probably going to have to overpay for him because now you're in the camp of you're the Boston Red Sox, but teams don't or guys don't want to come here unless you're going to overpay him because they know you're not a serious organization anymore. They know you're not about winning. Clearly,
We know this is true too. It's not just speculation. Chris Cotillo said it about a week ago, where
yep,
they're meeting with
absolutely.
teams and they're a little concerned about the status of spending and
Mhm.
where they want to go.
Yeah, so it blows my mind that writers, outside fans like you and I, and other people that follow this team and are probably starting to fall off following this team. It's crazy that you and I can, and then those people can see that you need to overspend for these type of free agents that if you really really want them. It blows my mind that the baseball team and the operation and everything still cannot see that and still want to try to lowball these guys that you so reportedly want on this team and have been aggressively pursuing a guy like, as you mentioned, Imanaga earlier, who what would you say it was 4 and 53 he got
Yes, I have
with
it pulled
the
up just for
possibility to go
reference.
to 80. Reference that again for the people that may have not heard that at the start of the show
Yeah,
or
for
middle,
anyone
whenever
who
that came
did
out.
not hear it, the Cubs are in agreement with lefty Shota Imanaga on a 4-year, $53 million deal. This is from Jesse Rogers of ESPN. After 2 years, the team has the option to extend the contract to 5 by 80. If they decline, Imanaga can become a free agent. Same deal happens, with this potential extension over after the third year.
Mm-hmm. That to me is wild because that wasn't even the initial report. Because the report came out last night from Bob Nightingale that they had reached a tentative deal with Imanaga. He was undergoing a physical today, and then the deal would become official, obviously, like it was that you just read out. But John Morosi had a tweet. He said Shota Imanaga's deal with the Cubs, once finalized, will be for multiple years with an average annual value of $15 million range. So I feel myself,
Well,
and I
this
feel
is
like a lot of
technically in the $15 million
it
range.
is, but I was going to say, I feel like me and maybe some other people kind of thought it would be a little bit more than $15 million. But even, if it was a flat 15, again, Red Sox can't offer 15 million or more if you really want to get this starting pitcher and really want to bolster your rotation.
Really
So
didn't
that's
want
kind of
him
the
bad
thing
enough.
here. Yeah, if you couldn't offer 13 and a half or 13.25,
This
whatever it came out to be, like they're not going to sign anybody at this
I
point.
might be wrong, but I wonder if this came down more to not wanting the player as bad as Imanaga versus money. It obviously it's partially money. It's the Red
Mhm.
Sox. This kind of gives me the vibe that they didn't want him very bad.
It
They're in
doesn't
the
seem
mix in
like it.
case they could have got him for a price they like, which goes to the money thing. But I feel like if they really loved him, they would have outbid the Cubs.
Yeah, because I mean, you did have there was Tyler Milliken had this tweet talking about Alex Spear report. He said, according to Alex Spear, the Red Sox had remained in the bidding for Shoto Imanaga as recently as this morning. This, of course, came out yesterday. Said recent reports have said the Red Sox have checked in on Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell, but there's skepticism they'd land either one. After them, it's Paxton, who a report came out today. I saw before we jumped on that they said they're probably not going to bring him back. So if you're not even going to bring Paxton back, you're literally signing nobody this offseason, if you ask me. If you don't want to bring a guy back, worst
Don't
case
yeah.
scenario, who had success with you. The other names that came up on the street were Marcus Stroman, Garrett Clevenger, who there's been some linkage to, which I would hate that if they bring Garrett Clevenger in here. He's
There's a
washed.
Garrett and a Mike Clevenger. Because I saw the link
Oh,
mentioned
sorry.
him.
Yeah, this is Mike Clevenger. You're right. Garrett is the reliever I was thinking of. Mike is the starter for the Cubs,
Amir
I think
Garrett?
or White Sox.
Is there
No,
a Garrett Clevenger?
there is. I think he's a
Oh,
reliever for the
okay.
Rays, if
Okay.
I remember correctly.
I was
So
like, they're
that's who
gonna
I
bring in the
said.
psycho?
No, this is Mike Clevenger, starter of the White Sox, and formerly the at the time Indians. And then the other name on this tweet too we talked about was Hyunjin Ryu, who if you're scraping the bottom of the barrel for Hyunjin Ryu and Mike Clevenger, like what are we doing here? But yeah, I mean it just continues to be penny pinching. I don't buy at this point. Anytime I see the phrase, the Red Sox remained in the bidding. At this point, I just take that as like they called up the guy's agent. We're like, hey, has he decided to come sign us? Because we're not really going to bump up our money or not. If he doesn't want to take our deal, we're going to go elsewhere. And then when they get he's not going to sign for you for pennies on the dollar. It's all right. See you later. We'll go sign. Go put out another fake rumor that we're in on somebody else. Um, it's just mind blowing to me. Again, it's the same thing I just said about Hernandez. Like, you obviously have a clear need. They obviously don't seem to think so. Why you can continue to think you can just send these, childish offers out there and think a guy's going to sign with you because it's not going to happen. And then now again, the reports, Rosenthal had it that the Red Sox don't seem to be in the mix for Snell and Montgomery. They're not going to sign anyone at this point or at this rate for, on the pitching side of things. Because there's another tweet that came out today that I'll touch on a little later, but Any other thoughts for you on the Imanaga stuff other than what you said that you probably didn't think they were all that in on him?
Yeah, I'm just not super bummed about this one too, but I
Mm-hmm.
am bummed from the standpoint that I just feel like there's nothing. They're not going to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like
You're
the
bummed
player
at the
itself, I
sense of
can't act
like
like I know a ton about it. Like I
mhm.
can't.
The thing for
And I
me, it's
can't get
like
super mad about it, but I'd be happier if they were in the mix on Montgomery or Snell. Because at this
mhm,
point, if you're gonna overpay Snell, I don't care. Like, I don't. Like, you have a bad contract in your pitching rotation at some point. That's fine. Teams have bad contracts. It's whatever. You need a pulse. You need a pulse. Lucas Giolito doesn't do it enough.
mhm.
And it's nothing against him. It's just how it is. It's the landscape of the team.
Well, that was the thing for me. We talked about this too. I think either somebody asked us the question or you asked it to me, whatever it was. But or the question has been asked, like, okay, if their offseason consisted of signing Giolito, but then also getting Imanaga, yeah, it's not a home run offseason, but you'd probably be a little bit more content with that than just Giolito and somebody else. So the thing that pisses me off about the Imanaga stuff is it's really the only other pitcher you kind of heard them more so interested in. Like you at this point, you kind of know that they're not going to sign Montgomery, they're not going to sign Snell. Any rumor that they're in on those guys, I think, is a load of crap. Um, now with the Paxton stuff coming out, I can't remember who it was that had that they're probably not going to re-sign him or bring him back. Imanaga, I feel like was the one last shot to maybe make a bigger mix and again, not a bigger mix, a bigger splash rather. Um, he was kind of the biggest name left, and again, it would have been a splash, not the flashiest of name compared to a guy like Yamamoto, but it would have been something to kind of hang your hat on. Like, okay, they did something. They went out and took a chance on this guy, spent some money on an international free agent. We'll see if he has some success. Now that it's over, it's like, all right, like at this point, you feel
Fuck you.
stupid. Yeah, but you feel stupid for believing again than anything that they might really be in on a
What,
guy or
what was
not.
what was the thing like there? Something about Lazardo you retweeted.
Oh, the fact that it wasn't Red Sox specific. It was just maybe it was because this like I said, I'll get to this Boston Strong tweet at the end of the last free agent I was going to talk about. But there was a report that apparently the Marlins, when they shopped around Luzardo, they really didn't find anything that was all that of value. And I joked like that's probably because the Red Sox called them up one day and were like, "Hey, we'll trade you Bobby Dahlbeck and Brandon Walter. Would you take these two AAA guys for your
Yeah.
number two
So
starter?"
are
And they were
they
probably like, "Yeah, we're done with any
are
of
they even
these."
gonna entertain the other guy, Cabrera,
Not that I've
trading him?
seen or heard of. I
Yeah, I
doubt
haven't
it at
seen
this
anything
point.
either.
Like
Okay.
the
But
Marlins
we
have
do have
pitching.
another Marlins guy that you're gonna get to.
Yeah, this one. Again, the Red Sox have been linked to him. Now the
I
Blue Jays have
want
gotten
this
involved.
guy
So,
bad. I love Jorge Soler.
oh, don't get your hopes up then, because that's how we've
I
we've
know.
come to
I
find
know.
out that if you really want the player, they're probably not going to sign them.
Jorge
Um,
Soler smokes the
he would
ball.
rake at Fenway. There's no doubt about that. It's kind of the same thing we said about who was the other DH that signed last week that I'm now drawing a blank on. It was Teoscar Hernandez. That's not last week, signed the other day. Um, Getting a wet brain at the end of the show here. Yeah, but last week we learned from Mark Feinstein that the Red Sox have expressed interest in outfielder slash DH Jorge Soler. On Monday, Hector Gomez reported the Red Sox are, quote, aggressively pursuing and have emerged as the quote unquote front runner for Soler. But the Blue Jays and Diamondbacks have also emerged as potential landing spots. I think it was John Heyman that had the same thing today, that the Red Sox and Blue Jays were the two top teams. So expect him to sign with Toronto in that case.
Yep.
And then from Boston Strong said, quote, Jorge Soler opted out of his last year with the Marlins. He's expecting more than $13 million per year and most likely a 2 to 3 year deal. Craig Mish of the
So
Miami Herald last night said he's projected to get a 2 year deal.
they offered Teoscar Hernandez 2 and 28. What should stop them from giving Soler 13 to 15 million?
What should stop them? Nothing. What will stop them? That they're the Boston Red Sox and they see that Jorge Soler wants.
Poor phrasing by me.
I know. But yeah, it's the fact that now that this number is out there, the Red Sox will go, oh, we know you want 13 million, but will you take 11? Like if we gave you a 2 and 22, yeah, or 2 and 10, 20. What would you say to that? And he's gonna
Will you
say, I'll
take a
go
Dave
sign
and
with
Buster's gift
Toronto.
card?
Yeah, yep. Well, I'll invite you to winter weekend and you can come hang out with all the pissed off fans. Would you like to join us? But yeah, you're right. Jorge Soler, he'd be a great bat for the middle of this lineup. 137 games last year, 36 homers, 75 RBIs. Much like Teoscar Hernandez has a pretty perfect swing for Fenway Park. He could, put dents in the monster, drive the ball over the monster. Again, though, if you are really aggressively pursuing and the front runner for this guy, why is this deal not done yet? Why have you not, again, extended yourself now that you know the Blue Jays are involved? gone to him and been like, "Hey, we really want you here. You'd be perfect for the middle of our lineup. Will you take 2 and 30 if you want to go that high? Because again, you're probably gonna have to. You're probably gonna have to outbid Toronto. Um, we'll have to wait and see on this. At this point, like I think I've said to you, any Red Sox rumor I see at this point, I'm just not going to believe because they've given you nothing to hang on to. Like outside of, like you said, the Giolito signing, a couple of trades here and there, hasn't been a whole lot to get excited for. Like I said, I've been alluding to this Boston Strong tweet that came out a couple hours ago. I don't know, it came out this morning, excuse me. For the people that missed it, referencing a Jim Bowden, either tweet or article or whatever it was, this was kind of the latest on some Red Sox news and notes. The first one was no traction on the trade conversation with White Sox for Dylan Cease. That one's all not that surprising because if you look at what the White Sox have reportedly been asking for, I saw the other day, it's at least 2 of your top 3 prospects. So that's probably Mayer,
and Anthony.
Probably, yeah, Roman Anthony, something like that. Maybe Blaze if he's still up there in the top 3 or 5.
I think it might
go ahead.
involve all 3 of them.
Probably,
like
yep.
Mayer and Blaze, Mayer, Anthony, and like Winkleman, Gomez, and fucking someone else. Like
you got to assume a guy like Tanner Houck's probably going back in that deal as well. Like, yeah, I would want some sort of pitching. And the Red Sox obviously don't have a lot of that. So yeah, out on Dylan Cease, it reports. I'm fine with that. Yeah, because I'm not giving up the farm for one guy who, was good at the end of last year, but had moments where he really struggled and was another one of those guys that looked like the pitch clock thing may have, affected him a little bit.
Yeah, it needs to be way more of a sure thing if you're giving up that much.
So maybe like a sure thing in a Corbin Burns if you wanted him. Not going to happen. Conversations went nowhere with the Brewers when it comes to Corbin Burns. I don't know if that was because the Brewers were asking too much. It was probably because the Red Sox didn't want to offer him anything or maybe shell out the money to extend him if he was traded here. So really no surprise there that they're not in on Burns. This was the one that you kind of referred to earlier, said they had conversations with the Marlins for Luzardo, but they came up empty as well. And then the other one, this is probably referring to the Ken Rosenthal tweet, unlikely to be players for Snell and Montgomery. So this is where the Red Sox are at this year, this offseason. A whole lot of nothing. The other report that we joked about earlier and alluded to, as we know, the Red Sox should be gearing up for the winter weekend that takes place at either that Foxwoods or Mohegan Sun. I can't remember where they have that usually. As we know, last year they had the town hall meeting where fans, got to ask questions, rightfully boo the organization and, kind of question what direction they're going in. The Red Sox, in an all-time bitch out move, canceled that. They're not doing it this year. Wonder why. Led a guy like Jared Roberts to tweet out, the meme of like, why, what happened? Just hilarious that after all this, you can't even like this would be the year to do it. Obviously, new president of baseball operations, Craig Breslow. Maybe you get him there, get the fans to ask him some questions, kind of see where he's at with his first year here. Nope, not doing it. Do you have breaking news? The look on your face makes me think there's
Matt Couture just tweeted a picture of Kenley Jansen with no caption in a Dodgers uniform.
Who tweeted it out? Matt who?
Matt Couture.
What the heck?
Belly Up Sports guy tweets a lot about the Red Sox. I see Boston Sports.
Well, maybe there's some breaking news on that. Now I got to refresh Twitter before we get out of here. As I do that, your thoughts on the whole no winter weekend, if you have any thoughts on that. I feel like you kind of share the same thought process that maybe I do and some other fans.
It is entirely unsurprising.
It really is, yeah. Like it blows my mind. Like read the room. Like how do you not think you're gonna get backlash for this?
Yeah, God. At this point, I hope they lose the draft lottery next year.
I was just gonna say, the draft lottery's already been settled this year, but
for next year, because they're gonna be bad again.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting no effort in. I mean, how does it get this bad for an organization like the Red Sox? I know how it does.
You just don't care. I don't know who this Isaac, this verified person is. I was just scrolling through Twitter, this at iTalk Studios YT. They tweeted out 35 minutes ago, 45 minutes ago, hearing the Red Sox and Dodgers have discussed the Kenley Jansen trade. So maybe take it with a grain of salt. Again, don't know how official this verified account is on Twitter. But as you said, there have been apparently rumors and rumblings that maybe Kenley Jansen is about to become a Dodger again. I'm sure as soon as we get out of here in like a minute or two, that'll drop at like 9:07, 9:08. So that'll be something to look forward to. But Red Sox just continue to do the Dodgers favors. We're not go after big name free agents, trade them Hall of Fame MVP caliber player, get nothing back in return. Now you can, trade him an all-star Hall of Fame closer for who knows what. The rich get richer at the Dodgers. I wonder if how much of that'll be something to keep an eye on. How much of his remaining salary will get deferred until 2045 when he gets traded back to the Dodgers.
It is possible too that they just picked a picture with the Dodgers. I don't know.
Fair,
Probably
yep.
not. But now with that other tweet, that's what I was thinking before you mentioned that tweet. But
Okay.
Why help the Dodgers? Why?
Beats me. Maybe Kenley Jansen went to the Red Sox and was like, "Could you get me the hell out of here, please? I don't want to play for you anymore. You guys are gonna suck this year. I don't feel like being."
Fucking surprise me at all.
Just be like, trade me before July. I don't want to have to sit around here and try to, run the risk of getting hurt and
How do you think
tank my stock
feels?
Oh, probably terrible.
Monster extension, like the happiest go lucky, amazing vibes. I think it'll become like more of a vocal leader over time.
Mm-hmm.
He'll still be like goofy little guy. How do you think he feels? How do you think Xander Bogaerts feels getting out of this?
Probably pretty good. I mean, he didn't have the greatest year in San Diego last year. That team
Who gives a shit?
Underachieved big time, but exactly, who cares?
$1 billion to play
making
in
a ton of money. He's playing in San Diego. Yeah, there are worse things in the world.
Even though this is expected, and the Red Sox are at the top of my fandom, it's so disheartening to see this.
Mm-hmm.
To get this bad, canceling of
I
fan
did just
event.
see the picture, by the way, that you just said, with no context whatsoever.
Yeah, they're gonna announce it at like midnight, and he's going to, they're gonna get like 2 crappy prospects. And
somebody in the comments goes Kenley Jansen for Yoshinobu Yamamoto, straight up, done deal.
Works for me, man.
Yeah, not gonna work.
Fuck the Red Sox. Not even them. Just fuck John Henry. So that's gonna wrap it up on a somber note for episode
absolutely.
175.
An offseason that's already been bad could get worse with trading your all-star closer.
Holy shit, man. Like, come on. Thank you so much for listening. Find us on anywhere you find your podcasts. You can rate and review on Spotify and Apple. Follow the Full Press Coverage app, or download the Full Press Coverage app. Follow us on Twitch and YouTube. You can follow us on TikTok at Mike underscore. I got the fucking things mixed up now. At Salvaggio and Cratty Pod. You can follow us on Twitter at Mike underscore Cratty. At Ryan underscore Salvaggio and the show at Salvaggio and Cratty Pod. We'll see you next week. Stay safe, stay healthy, be nice to people, all that good stuff. And we'll talk to you then.